Me?
Yeah, there's four of us.
Hi, welcome to the Carmudgeon Show. My name is Jason Cammisa. That is Derek Tam-Scott. That is Anthony Esposito. And that is Robert David Sanders.
Hello, hello.
These are the guys who make me not look like a moron on...
Full-time job.
Full-time job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just the one.
That's why we get paid the medium bucks.
The medium bucks.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought it would be fun to bring these two idiots on, co-workers, esteemed co-workers, onto the show and have us torment them a little bit to ask them what it's really like behind the scenes of our stuff.
And how to make the sausage and get lots of...
It's disgusting. Who's making sausage?
You guys do. Isn't that your job? Is that
no,
what
we
you
make
do?
car content.
You.
Sausage.
So let's talk about engine sounds and misspelled words.
Rob is offended. Rob is offended because you'll see that I make fun of him for spelling words wrong. Sorry, Rob. Anyway, if you like this content, please consider joining the Hagerty Drivers Club, which includes unlimited roadside assistance for all of your classic cars. A subscription. Here, that's our award-winning magazine, and you could have a subscription to it. Also, unlimited access to our valuation tools.
And access to special events and discounts.
His name is Derek Clapton. He has a hard time clapping. He does this sort of like ab exercise.
That one was very good. It was medium good.
Normally,
I
just
got
precise
the
enough.
job done.
You do it.
A clap?
Yeah.
Do I have to horizontally? Like
However you... See? Can you do a clap?
That wasn't very loud, though.
Jake, clap. Anyway,
So we're here, finally.
I thought it would be a good idea to bring these two fuckers in, and they have all the dirt on me. Literally, he's got hard drives full of
Terabytes.
Well, why don't we just stop talking now and just roll a continuous loop of just everything that Jason doesn't want exposed publicly, and then we don't have to talk for this entire episode.
Mainly because I would like to stay employed.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
You would? Oh, okay. You must have a better job than I do. It's not too late to call it off. 9 years of dirt.
9. Have we been working together for 9 years?
Yeah.
Holy shit! That's why your hair looks like that.
I thought that the other day.
You have some. I'm surprised because all Anthony ever does is pull his hair out like, I can't stand this fucking asshole. And then you come back.
I was checking out at a CVS like 2 days ago, and they have the camera that looks down on you, and I'm like, oh my god! My first thought was, Jason has done this to me. Look at what he's done.
I mostly think that when I look in the mirror, I look at myself. Look what Anthony did to me. I was young. I was thinnish.
I think you're aging better than I am, though. Weirdly, that's the only compliment
It's
I'll give
only
you.
because a balloon does not have any wrinkles. Sorry. Yeah. So, okay. I think what we should do is, I don't think people understand what this team of us does. You should be interviewing us, really.
Okay. I need questions.
Okay,
Tell me how it
works. I don't think the world understands how we work. Derek's been on a bunch of shoots with us, so he's seen sort of how the sausage is made. But we are the trio that basically creates the 3 shows that we do for Hagerty. So in addition to the Carmudgeon Show, we have Icons, Revelations, and Cooter, Cammisa's Ultimate Drag Race Replay, plus technically also Ultimate Lap Battle. Mm-hmm. And we did Know It All. Mm-hmm.
Briefly.
You know why? This one wouldn't even read the script. Like, this is before
That
Anthony
is not true.
This is here. You want dirt? You guys want dirt on Anthony? This is before he was an employee, before I could get Hagerty to hire him full time. We were paying him contract wise.
I think I was
you were a
also
contractor too,
contractor,
yeah.
yeah.
So we're paying here, Rob, $5 to edit an episode. Anthony, can I give you $1.75 to just read the script and help me punch it up? Because it's one thing to write something funny in a vacuum. It's something else to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody and make them funnier. And when we're writing the script, Anthony and I, like, especially Revelations, all we do is sit here and try to make each other laugh. All of the funniest moments that have ever happened in Revelations, like all the, I'm done with a line and I kind of look to the side and I say something else and then something else, is always to make him laugh. So I would send him the script and be like, hey, I wrote this Kia on why your engine sounds the way it would. Can you do me a favor and just like call me and let's punch it up or whatever? And crickets.
The show was too easy to make.
You were bored by it. You're like, you set up a camera, you do whatever. I'm not interested. I want to make film. 3 syllables. Film. And so I couldn't even get him to read the fucking scripts. You bougie bitch.
Really?
So that's why that
Interesting.
show was shit canned.
It got no ratings.
No, actually, a couple of them did really well. Yeah, no, it was a combination of things. It was a miserable thing for me to do because I was by myself in the office here because nobody lives locally. You and I both live here in the Bay Area. You guys don't, and so I would
pre-Jake.
It was pre-Jake.
Yeah.
And so I would have to set the camera up. I'd have to set the background up, set the camera up, set the lighting up, write the script, and then I bought this ghetto
Teleprompter. Yes.
that wouldn't hear 3/4 of the things I said. So would scroll automatically based on like listening to what I said.
Yeah.
So then until I figured out I had to have 2 fucking microphones, one for the camera, one for the teleprompter, and then the dog would
was that
start.
the solution?
That was the solution.
The teleprompter couldn't keep up with how fast you speak, though. That was the problem.
Anyway, so we killed that show. Anthony did not want to do Revelations either. So
That's not true.
that is true.
That-
You didn't do the first 2.
Okay.
So you edited them, right?
Yes.
That was Honda S800 and
And the Renault.
no, Renault you were there for. That's why. Okay.
No, I started. I started the first Revelations. I did R5 Turbo.
Revelations
Turbo
is
was
a
not-
remake of an actual show that existed elsewhere
R5
before,
Turbo was
called
the first one.
Spotlight.
Which you also
Right.
wanted nothing to do with. That is true.
The secret is I want nothing to do with you, and I'm
What the fuck
forced
are you doing here?
Good question. You've been making my life more difficult every year that's gone
They keep
by,
bringing
and yet
it
I
back
say,
up.
I kind of like it.
No, listen, that is not the truth. You had 2 children. You made your own fucking life difficult.
That's true. So I can't
You
point
bought an
directly to you
listen,
for every gray
you
hair,
bought an
but like
Italian car.
that's okay.
You had 2 kids, and you built a house. That's like the trifecta of making your life miserable. You started out miserable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we found you by accident.
Exactly. I kind of fell backwards into your lap.
That's graphic.
Okay. But I didn't mean it that way. Sorry, everyone.
Hey Siri, call human resources.
Exactly.
She's actually going to. Anyway, so how we started working together first. Do you want to tell the story?
You guys worked together for a couple of years, right? Before I came.
How far back would you like me
The
to
beginning.
rewind? The beginning
Not
of
when you were
how I
sperm.
started? Okay. A little farther than that? Well, my career started at Motor Trend 3 years before you got there.
Yep.
And I'd gone to film school, made 2 car reviews directly out of film school with a bunch of friends. Got hit up by Jim Gleason from Motor Trend and Emil Rensing from the Drive channel at the same time. And then ended up going the Motor Trend route, which I'm very glad I did.
Dumbass move. What?
Yeah, that's true. In retrospect, hindsight 2020.
Here you are.
Got put in charge of Ignition, directed Ignition with Johnny.
But hold on. Let me just stop you for a second. You made a car review that on a channel with no subscribers did how many million views?
No, it got probably about 1 million.
Okay.
From nothing.
From nothing.
Right.
And
So
keep
it
in
obviously
mind,
got their attention.
YouTube was brand new
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah, less competition.
Right.
But I also didn't know what the hell I was doing. So
Clearly.
there's that.
I mean, it was so new.
That's true.
YouTube was paying Motor Trend to create content, weren't they?
Yeah.
In 2012, yeah.
That's how the Motor Trend
That's
sort
how
of channel
that's-
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So one of their first shows was Ignition, and just a really quick summary of that. It was effectively testing come to life. And it started a little bit before I got there, but they handed me the reins somewhat quickly. And then did it for a couple years with Johnny and Carlos, and then you came in 2015, and
You made, and the joke there was I was going to get crucified. Like everyone was, Ed Lowe, the editor in chief, was like, "Look, dude, everyone loves Carlos. Carlos left. You're fucked. Like they're just all going to hate you." So I wore the same black V-neck. I don't know if you remember this.
Yep.
Same V-neck, same Converses, and I did the intro with a helmet on. And I get out, pull over, get out of the car, pull my helmet off, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys were expecting Carlos." Sorry, but at least I may not be Carlos, but at least I'm not Johnny. Hi there, and made fun of him.
What episode was that?
That was Cayman.
Porsche GT4.
I actually
Cayman
remember
GT4.
that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember thinking, who's this guy?
Did you? But you weren't editing that, right?
Oh, God,
Okay.
no.
No, that was-
I was still in the animation world then.
Okay, we haven't gotten to your animation
God,
yet,
no,
so
we're not
he's
gonna talk
he
about it.
doodled.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started out and it was fun. We got to concentrate on the cars and, we didn't get too crazy in terms of stacking, making our lives more difficult.
No, Ignition was very simply a single car review,
Right.
period, and we kept it to one car, which
did.
allowed us to
If
do
we were
things
forced
like
to.
run babies over. We had a lot of sick shit that we did, a lot of fun stuff. But it
I mean,
was
I think that's
simple.
where the general public probably first became aware of you, is not through the written word, because I feel like that's no longer that relevant in terms of building celebrity. It's more about
It was
Jason,
an order of magnitude greater.
You did do 4 videos before working with me at Motor Trend. One was the biggest drag race video of all
Excuse
time
me.
on YouTube.
biggest what?
Was it not? Drag race
Most
episode?
biggest automotive video of all time.
Yeah.
133 million views and counting.
Well, there you go.
It sucks. Don't watch it so bad.
It's pretty bad.
If you want to know
looks-
what
it looks
Jason
really dated, huh?
well, we did it. We literally did it for $50. I got the airstrip for free, and this was Veyron versus Aventador versus LFA versus MP412C. I was fired over that video. It's so long ago. We can talk about this anyway, because I was told I was at Automobile, and I was told you are not doing a video for Motor Trend. And Motor Trend's like, Automobile doesn't have a YouTube channel. We shut it off. Motor Trend we were sister magazines. Motor Trend got the $1 million in seed money from YouTube, and they said, just do this show as a head to head. And it was a 4-car head to head. I was fired and then very quickly unfired because of it. But it was literally no production value. It was just me in terrible shorts with like a Guido chain. Anyway,
But no one had ever seen anything like
no one
that.
ever seen anything
Yeah.
like it. So that was basically how Ultimate Drag Race started. I mean, that was the first drag race show. But anyway,
Matt Watson
it's
was
the
watching
opposite.
you from his college
Yeah.
dorm room. Oh, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason did that, and then two other head-to-heads. Yeah, like four videos for Motor Trend effectively before we started working together.
yeah. Bunch of stuff that was all fun. Video is the logical next step from print, because it's 10 times the work.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
especially in the modern time. I think that it resonates better with consumers, people who are consuming content.
I can tell you what a car sounds like, or I can let you hear it.
Yeah,
And
no, but
that's-
the cars are such a dynamic thing that it's no wonder that people prefer to experience them in that way, in that medium.
Well, it's all about the car porn at that rate, too.
yeah.
Seeing
I mean-
the car in action and
I loved working for a print magazine, and it was so simple. Like, I didn't realize at the time how easy it was. Anything could be photoshopped, and we did a lot of, we were on a photo shoot, and I could make up the story. It's not, you're making up the story, but it's your version of the story. And video, as you have taught me the hard way, is you got to be perfect, and you're going to do it again and again and again and again and again. Perfect, do it again. Perfect, do it again. Perfect, do it again. Johnny's line was always, "It was perfect. Why the fuck do I have to do it again?"
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because a squirrel farted in the background, or there was a leaf, or the
Safety.
camera guy twitched and had a sneeze or
always
something.
have to have a safety tape.
Yeah.
You do.
Yep. So anyway, we started with Ignition and head to head.
Right.
We turned head to head into a 2-person show that had previously just been a single host with 2 cars.
Why did
Which is awkward.
Yeah. It was
Because if you're trying to drive 2 cars at once,
effectively, it was 2 individual ignitions
Slammed together.
with a conclusion at the end. And we realized quickly that Johnny and I could fight about anything. And so that was perfect.
Yeah, that
there's
was
some subtext there.
yeah, with me in the middle,
With him in the
separating
middle, yeah.
you two at all times. And you'd come to me, and I'd be your therapist, and then Johnny'd come to me, and that motherfucker.
Therapist is the wrong word. Punching back is what I prefer.
That's difficult because you guys have to sit next to each other in the same car when you're doing that.
There was a lot. We genuinely could argue about everything, but the best part of that was trying to make each other laugh. Like, it bothered him so much when I would make him laugh, and he never said this to me, but you could see it in his face. I would say something funny, he'd be like, "Yeah, blah 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 blah," and it would just burst out. And he's got this infectious laugh. So it really did make it fun. But Anthony was in the middle of battle royale nonstop.
I don't envy that.
The internet was very sad when you guys broke up,
It was.
It's true.
Yeah, I was.
especially because you disappeared for years afterwards.
It wasn't entire years.
It was a little while.
2 entire
In,
years.
in internet years, it was a while.
It was a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went back, I got my column back at Road and Track, and I sort of went back to print and realized how wonderful that was. But we never took time off. So that was the thing. So we left Motor Trend together, effectively 3 weeks apart.
You guys abandoned me.
We did. Okay. Because in the intervene, so hold on. We did those 2 shows. So Ignition, head to head. We did World's Greatest Drag Race,
Yeah.
which was sort of,
And best driver's car.
and Best Driver's Car.
2 years.
And that was it, right?
For our time there, yeah.
And in the interim, we were battling with an editor who didn't see the world the way we saw it. And one day we just hear there's a new editor who's going to do some video.
Pause.
Yeah.
When you started in 2015, they had never even told me who was replacing Carlos.
You know that we didn't interview. This was the joke. I'm sorry to do this, but this is how dysfunctional Motor Trend was. Ed calls me and is like, hey, off the record, Carlos is leaving. We need a new host. Do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, sure. Let's talk. They have me interview with a whole bunch of people and never even met you. I had met you while you were with Carlos on a press event a year or two earlier.
Right.
But so I show up my first day and I'm like talking to everyone and you show up and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? You're
coming to what is this?
And you must have been like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
Yeah, that was a little fucked up.
And then they said, who the fuck is this
Right.
guy?
So in the same, my point in saying that.
Yeah, wait.
Is in the same way, we were out in location. The first edit of 911R comes in, and I'm like, wait, who edited this? Like, who is this guy? You know?
Yeah, because they told us I think they told us they found a new editor, and we didn't have time to think about it.
Right.
And next thing you know, a cut lands on our desk, and 911R was the single worst episode we ever did in terms of my performance. Look at that look on your face. Get that look.
I don't blame you. You were incredibly jet lagged. I'm feeling that right now because I just landed. So I'm like, I sympathize.
3 hours, not 9. 3 hour time difference versus 9.
He always has to win.
But you have to remember, though, my first day at Motor Trend was that episode. And they told me, sorry for handing you a shit sandwich.
Oh, really?
They said they had less time than they thought they had. It was raining, and they were jet lagged and not feeling well. So please do what you can.
It was a nightmare. And when your first cut came in, we were like, what the fuck?
Are you kidding me? In my mind, this was my chance to edit Top Gear.
Yeah.
Because that was my favorite show. Mm-hmm. And I was stuck in the world of animation.
Okay,
looking for a
doing?
way out.
Tell the people that out there in radio and TV.
Well, I wasn't supposed to get this job.
Which job?
The job I have now. Well, at Motor Trend. Because I was an animation editor. And I was out of work. And I was applying everywhere. And I got a call from HR to see if I could do a sizzle reel for the company. And I was employed for just 2 weeks on a temporary job. And I said, well, I'll be out in 2 weeks if you could do it then. They said, no. I said, okay. I didn't think I'd hear from them again. About 3 weeks later, they said, hey, we know there's another different opportunity that came up. If you could maybe substitute for an editor who's being put on something else for a little while, if you could come in. And that's when I interviewed with Dwayne. Mm-hmm. And he asked, about what I was into. And I told him all about, I just went on and on and on, like just excited like a little kid about cars and my favorite shows being Top Gear and all this. And he was like, oh, I guess I have the right guy. They obviously didn't communicate any of this.
This is a joke.
So I found out later that you guys were on the side of the road getting an email going, what the F?
We were not happy.
Who the hell is this guy? They didn't even, how can they hire somebody without even talking to me? I didn't know any of this was going on, right?
Especially knowing that we were battling with the previous editor because the reason I think that we bonded very quickly is we agree that we want to take full advantage of the medium, right? You have a film degree. I have never watched a movie. But I used to talk movies all the time and I'm like,
constantly.
But we agree that the sort of spoken word of YouTube is a problem. Standing in front of a card and saying, it does this and it does that and whatever is just not taking advantage of the sight, sound, and motion that you can do. So the question is, how do you tell a story? And then how do you write a script in chapters in such a way that it remains interesting and you can convey information in a fun way? Mm-hmm. And so our first day of work, I will never forget, we sat down and we were trying to plan out what we were going to do with Bentley GT3R and Cayman GT4. And we just started making each other laugh. Oh, what if we do this? What if we do this? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Parts of those episodes worked. Parts of those episodes
10%.
Yeah. I think that might be generous.
Yeah.
But I freaked out and I was all nervous and it was just it was overload. But where we hit our stride was running the baby. Well, we didn't run the baby over. We came up with a sequence. You did not edit this, right?
No.
We came up with a sequence that GT3 was so friggin' loud, the Bentley, that the idea was you hit the start button, like I'm drinking a cup of tea and I have a beret, and I drop the tea in the cup holder, hit the start button, and then the exhaust blows over flowers. And then I drive down the road very slowly, and there's a jogger with a baby carriage. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember this.
Do you remember? We almost both threw up on the side of this driveway.
It was a lot.
It was real. And then so I rev the engine, and the idea is the sound makes the jogger throw the baby carriage, and the baby hits the ground splat. And there he goes. We were genuinely gagging from laughter, and that was when I'm like, okay, we found the right mix of dumb. Because my mother was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Because the baby hits the ground, splat, and I'm like, "Oh no, we have to put like a funny sound effect in there," because my mom was so upset. So we made the baby giggle when it hit the ground. It was like splat. But
the thing about chemistry, though, right?
Right, that was
it's
it.
ephemeral. You can't really
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. We were just trying to make each other laugh, and the more we could laugh, the funnier we thought it would get.
Yeah.
And then you came in, and Anthony's a great editor. Anthony's a fantastic editor, and
that was intimidating for me.
it should be, because
I remember you
he's really
saying
good.
that.
Yeah. Well, so after 9/11R Rough Cut was done, you finally came home from
Right.
Germany. And I was working on the fine cut at the time. And I was all the way in the back of the studio. And I heard way down, like 6 or 7 rows down, "Who's this Rob Sanders guy?" And it didn't, I later realized, now that I know you, that was just your normal speaking voice. But at the time I thought, that sounded like,
That guy's angry.
He's
he
from
sounds,
New Jersey.
he sounds concerned.
Who's that fucking guy over there?
Yeah, and then I kind of just sunk down on my seat a little bit, like, "Uh-oh, here it comes."
Yeah.
And
That was
then,
fantastic.
and then, like, we were talking within a minute, and we were like, and then I knew that the other editor was a bit upset. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to make any enemies.
No enemies needed, but you were the right match because you wanted to be involved in the process and find ways to make the stories that we're telling more visual, more. You were adding.
And we've been doing that ever since. I mean, that show was incredibly straightforward.
Yeah.
Wait, but your philosophy was always basic with me. We only work with people who can add something we ourselves cannot add.
That's true.
Yeah, we talk a lot internally about Rob sauce, which sounds like an HR violation. But
Trademark
this is
reserved.
I mean, the thing is, so the way the process works that we write these shows is, like, we'll come up, there's either a car available or we'll come up with an idea, and then we start the script of what's the story we need to tell. He and I sort of go through an outline, then I go away and I write a script, and then he comes out and is like, "This is stupid, this sucks, this fucking not funny, blah, blah, blah."
Well, just maximizing for camera.
Well, for
our
not
edit.
even first. It's just like this is the information we need to convey,
Right.
and then you sort of go away and come up with how do we show this instead of say
How?
it, and then that starts a volley between the two of us where we're coming up with scenes, right? So that turns ideas into scenes, and then Rob gets involved. Usually after we shoot, sometimes before or while we're shooting.
If I'm on set, I'm involved, but that's only been recent. Mostly I'm post facto. But that's always the case with
editors, right?
Wait, so to back up a minute, 9/11R you considered rubbish? Did you feel like that afterwards?
No, we saw that rough cut and we were like, how did he make this pile of shit into what was at that point the best produced episode we'd done? I mean,
I remember that episode being very impactful for me personally because it was addressing something that I always felt about new cars that was deficient, and I was like, this might be a new car that I actually like. That was the feeling that I left that episode with.
I could totally understand that. Yeah.
and I mean, the whole thing was insane. We found a closed road by chance. We were driving around and there was like a 3-mile twisty road that was a dead end because of construction. And so we just filmed there.
There's only 3 of us. We didn't have a crew.
That's true. Yeah.
So
I've done that once on the LFA video that I did. We got so lucky. We found a really epically good road that was closed. I love when that
That's
happens.
amazing when that happened. Yeah. The only thing we had was a truck or two coming by.
can you go back and watch those episodes and actually be what's your feeling about that? Because I cringe most of the time.
Mostly I'm cringing.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. First of all, the productions that we have now are give it a multiplier number in terms of effort.
12x?
Right.
Yeah.
About?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be that we would, like you and I, early ignition stuff, here's a car. We would just go out and start filming. We didn't have a script.
We'd have bullet points.
That was later.
Yeah, that was
I mean, I think with some of my other hosts who won't be mentioned, I'm kidding. But a lot of the other people in this industry don't script anything. And it is one thing to go out and give a car review off the cuff. You can do it. Anyone can do it. But that is a very different thing. That's you're hanging out with somebody moment. You're in the car with them. Yeah. What we wanted to do is create a tight narrative that is cinema-like in that it's a quick beat.
And it's intentional. It's like writing good expository writing where there is a sort of, here's the point I'm trying to make, here's where we're trying to get there, here's the path we're going to take, these are the points, the evidence we need to provide to.
Right, and the quickest path. So there's not this meandering bullshit like I do here.
When I got to watch your guys' process the first time on the Lexus LS 500 video when you guys hired me full-time at Motor Trend. And I got to watch your process. And what I didn't realize was I was like, wow, they don't get the car until that morning, the day they're shooting.
Well,
and
that
he
was
has
the
to-
problem for that
was the
episode.
problem.
and but the idea is how can you formulate a script and an opinion based on driving it from the pickup point to the location and then sitting in the back seat of the van while watching you guys with your laptops
Adjust the
like in
script.
about half an hour, figure out the episode and then get to shooting.
And that one, I still fucked up.
Yeah,
if
but
you remember. So that
I
episode,
understand that, but that was amazing.
There was an about face.
there was an about
halfway
face
through
in that episode, and
Yeah.
I don't think the audience probably realizes that's because we filmed the. So Anthony always makes me do the in-car stuff first, and there's a lot of procedural reasons for that. But the problem is, and a lot of times I haven't formed my complete opinion. So there's stuff that we can do afterwards to change it around a little bit. That happened on Cybertruck, where we were able to go back out and do a little bit more. But in the case of the LC500, I drove it from LA to Palm Springs on a highway, and 2 or 3 passes on a mountain road that like maybe a total of like 4 miles in curves. Sat down, we banged out a script, and we recorded the in-car. Everything was fine until I drove it back to Palm Springs that night, drove it through town. I'm like, God, this thing is actually a very different car than I thought it was. And then got into an Aston V8 Vantage, V12 Vantage. And no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was your car, your V8 Vantage. And then in the ProMaster support vehicle that we had. And I'm like, this road is bumpy as fuck.
You didn't
and
know
I
it.
didn't know it
Yeah.
in the LC. And I'm like, wait a second. And so we had to engineer a second stand up where I'm like, maybe the whole point of Lexus calling this a sports car is not accurate. And we had to engineer an about face because it was too late to do the in-car stuff.
And that's my favorite element of that episode is that switch.
My favorite element is when I crouch over and I split my pants.
That's right.
So now, if we were if we were better back then, if we were as good, i.e., stupid back then as we are now, that would have had a sound effect and
Did
a
it
fart
not?
sound. Why didn't we? I don't think we did.
Okay.
Like
So
that's the
I
perfect
love
thing.
that's where the direction you want to go. You want
I
to talk about
split
the,
my fucking
the
pants.
missing sound
It
effect.
should have been like. Oops. You know, like
So just so you know, speaking of that, I have to take the moment. Just so you know, you guys probably don't know this, but there is a fart sound in every episode I've ever done with you guys.
You're kidding.
It's buried, but it's always
Ben's
in there.
been miking you up in the wrong spot this whole time.
Are you serious?
You guys never notice them. Unless it's obvious, like when you're like there was that one episode, what car, it was like the Lotus, you were demonstrating how to get in and we had that squeaky sound.
Yeah.
But that was actually a wet fart.
You did one in the. There was it was the cheerleader giggle.
Well,
and
yeah.
the 5-0.
So when it's obvious, obviously I'm like, well, I can put it front and center, but yeah.
Are we gonna have to now watch all the episodes back and look for the fart sound?
So that's a holdover from my animation era.
Easter
That's
eggs.
funny.
Yeah.
There's nothing funnier than sound effects. Right. Sound effects are the absolutely funniest shit. Okay, so
That's new. I learned something today. I did not expect to learn anything.
And it's quite a bombshell.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you started with us on full time on Lexus LC 500,
Full time, yeah. That was what, 2017?
and then we quit.
And then you guys quit.
Yeah. Like, this is working great. Bye.
I got to do 3 episodes with you, and then you guys split.
What was the third one? So it was LC
Ferrari.
Well,
Ferrari,
Ferrari, but you did 3
Or
because you did that
G4.
one. You did the one with Randy, the
Volvo.
rally episode with Volvo.
And Performante, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the Volvo was a V90 wagon, right? XC.
Yep.
And then
But
it was
yeah.
Jethro and
Jethro
Johnny
and Johnny.
after that for a couple of years. And then
Was it that
ended.
long? That was that many years? It was.
And then Motor Trend killed those 2 shows. They killed Ignition. They killed Head to Head. And they stopped doing drag race. So then I was out. And then, but that long after that, you went to ISSIMI, and then that.
Well, hold
led
on.
to-
Didn't you do another show in the meantime, or was that after ECME?
That was after.
Okay. Is it? Are we not going to talk about that?
Oh no.
Okay. So I go to. So I didn't realize it was ECME. So I found ECME first. How the fuck did this happen? Somebody introduced me, what's his name, from Connecticut, introduced me to the ECME guys, and they had a Stratos prototype that I drove. That
The MAT Stratos.
exactly,
The
MAT
shortened
Stratos.
430.
And I'm like, I want to do a video on it. And they're like, we want you to do a video. I'm like, sucks to be you because I don't have any money and I don't have a job. And that turned into, well, we will help you with production costs. like they would pay for the video as the distributor. And I'm like, as long as it's a real video, I don't care. And so that became
Our first icons.
our first icons. I was not an employee of EISSIMI. This was no, we were not paid to do that.
It came out right at Pebble.
At Pebble
I think.
Beach.
Yeah.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget that
Car week.
that day. But I was not an employee. They were just giving us access to the car and covering production. And we are so stupid because we could have asked for actual money for production.
Yeah, we got
but
nothing.
We got nothing.
We did it for free.
It cost us money.
You couldn't even
It
afford to
probably
hire
did,
me.
yeah.
You couldn't even hire me on it.
It cost us
No,
money. I had
sure.
to go buy all the equipment for that episode. We didn't have equipment. I
We
had to
had
go buy
nothing.
it.
We had literally nothing. And we're like, well, fuck it. It's a great car. I loved that car.
That's a
Still
cool car.
do. And so that was the first ever icons.
It was.
And so it must have been Luca at EISSIMI who suggested that we put Jason Cammisa in the title because I would have never wanted my name on it. But he was, no, it has to be with the ticket ads. It is not Jason. It has to be Jason Cammisa on the icons. What?
But the greatest thing about that episode is that simple insert of Jason in a dress hooking himself to make,
Oh, yeah.
to
To
make,
make
some,
20
to make
bucks.
20 bucks so you could buy one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one simple shot. It's like, I don't think it's on screen for 5 seconds.
No, not even.
And I got the biggest gut belly
Did
laugh
you really?
out of that. I love that moment.
No one has.
We were just talking about that, funny enough.
That fucking dress. That dress was in Rolls Royce Dawn.
got a lot of use out of that dress.
That dress was in
It's
that.
almost as famous as the wig.
Which one?
Bob.
The Uncle Bob.
Cousin Bob.
Cousin Bob.
Cousin Bob wig. There's that blonde platinum wig is the same.
Right.
The hooker wig is the same. I guess it was a hooker getting out of the Rolls Royce Dawn too. I never thought about it that way. Either way,
I don't know what you want to call
that's funny
yourself.
because I've never heard anyone say anything about.
I love that moment.
The hooker say the idea was I was saying the only.
I
problem
thought you
with this
when
car
you were
is-
at when you're in Monterey, people are like waving $20 bills at you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The whole idea was that it
We
was
wanna
the
support
owner
the
of the
cause.
car. That's what it was. It was the owner of the car. So the point was I was saying I was so upset that there's no way I could afford one.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do this? And we cut to me.
It must have been the very end of the day because I could tell you barely had exposure.
It was dark. It was dark out.
Is that a criticism, Rob?
Yeah. That is,
No,
sounded like it.
no, that's
This is the
just
shit
a
that I
glimpse
get.
into their day. It's like
Yeah,
from
we-
sun up till sundown, and it's murder in the winters.
oh yeah, and we were on a mountain, and we had to just run back to the street.
Yeah.
But it was the owner of the car who handed me $20. That was funny. I totally forgot about that. That was a fun episode.
Yeah.
that was.
It was,
really
but it
fun-
was really kind of the ignition and revelations mashed together. If you really think about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
because
had
you're
a
telling the
studio.
story.
And we had a studio. We had a sit down. That was great. We had a table with a bunch of Italian cars behind, books on the table, a cigarette burning, which just for effect because I don't smoke. But that was really cool. An espresso.
I was so jealous.
That was great.
Oh, that's right. I was working on Top Gear then. No,
And on that bombshell,
no. I mean, I was trying to remember why wasn't I?
you weren't there.
I couldn't remember what I did in between.
Because you had no budget.
That's
We,
right.
A, we had no budget, and B, it was just two of us plus our German.
But that
We
shows
had,
how
yeah,
German-
one assistant camera,
Yeah.
One PA to let us
Well,
know
yeah,
if there
my
were
buddy
cops
Mike,
around the corner
yeah.
about to arrest us.
Yeah, the German. By the way, it's the B cam was the German who I tased in the Aston V12 Vantage S. Bad German. Although you did the voice,
Right.
He did the Arnold voice. Do it.
Stop it.
But it doesn't have
Simon
CarPlay.
wouldn't
Come
do
on.
it.
Yeah, the actual German wouldn't
Yeah.
say, but it doesn't have CarPlay. Say it.
Who cares? Forget about it.
It's so good.
I love it.
Yeah, I finally got you on camera doing this. It's been 10 years of waiting for you to try to get
God.
you Arnold.
No, but that was our first icons.
That was our first icons. All right, so that
That's
was
because I always think of GT500.
Well, that was
As
that
the
was
first
your
icons.
It
But
was
I always-
Icons has been reborn a couple times.
Right.
So the crazy thing is, we pitched Icons to Hagerty. Was it before Stratos? Yes.
It was also in 2018. So I think it was before Stratos.
I think it was
And we
before
flew
Stratos
out.
was
we
summer of
flew-
19.
Stratos was summer 19. Yeah. So in October of 18, we flew to Traverse City.
We did.
I
To
didn't know
talk.
this.
Oh, really?
No, I knew.
We flew out to. I have the presentation still. We come up with a bunch of shows. One was called This versus That. You do your math. The other one, which was a drag.
Although that was a slightly different show than it is now.
We called it Drag Race All the Things or This versus That.
Right.
And it was just ridiculous drag races. And that was the number. But what we basically did was we went over to Hagerty and we're like, hey, you guys got this video channel. You're doing great. here's what we think that you guys need. You need a drag race show, you need a new car review, and you need an old car like
Telling of
history
the story,
lesson.
yeah.
And then a quickie tech thing. And they were like, nah. So we make icons for this is right. So we make icons. It happens at Monterey, and I'm now a couple months later, I'm in Scottsdale at some party somewhere.
I don't remember this.
And I'm hanging. You weren't there.
The GT500 premiered when you were in Scottsdale, right?
Was that what it was?
Yeah, I remember talking to you on the phone. You
Okay.
said, I'm in Scottsdale, and everybody's coming up to me.
That's right. Okay, hold on. So ISSIMI, so Stratos got me hired at ISSIMI. They were like, fuck, you got to do this for us. And it was a great idea. Is the whole idea, same thing that we were doing everywhere, is just get eyes on the brand. ISSIMI was new. No one ever heard of it. And they just wanted people to know this name. So we do GT500, which starred you ripping off your shirt, which was still to this day
Yeah, that's right.
absolutely hilarious. The flick, when Lisa throws the bird back at you, is the best part. So if you guys haven't watched the video, do it. We had 2 drag races in GT500. One was GT500 versus Hellcat. And we had Lisa do her cameo because she had done this once before in my first ever head-to-head with you, where she was like this unbelievably beautiful girl in a white dress in the middle of the desert. And in the middle, as she's about ready to drop the flag, an old lady, I'm sorry.
You flipped it.
Flipped it around. We're going to do a drag race. This is my friend Eric's idea, actually. We're in the middle of the desert. There's no one. It's me and Cousin Bob, because remember, single host show, right? So it's me versus Cousin Bob. Drag race is getting ready to happen. We're revving our engines in 3, 2, and hold up, and an old lady goes to cross. Do you remember this? Okay, so she's got a walker and she's dragging her slippers and whatever. And, Cousin Bob is like, would you just die already? Being totally offensive, eating chicken bones and throwing them out the window. And she rips off her old lady dress and wig, and there she is in this unbelievable white little tiny dress. And she's the flag girl. So we decide to have her reprise her role as the flag girl in GT500 versus Hellcat. And I'm like, but we can't do this. Like, this is like, the idea of a flag girl is going to get us shit. Like, this is not appropriate anymore. We can do a flag guy, but that's going to get us shit. But I'm like, what we could do is have one of each. So then we came up with the idea. Sorry, this is the backstory of how you got involved. So we're like, okay, Lisa does the first race. And then we know there's going to be some group of people are going to be really upset that there's, a objectification of someone female. So we have to objectify somebody male. So she goes to start the second race, and you did this unbelievable animalistic build. I'll never forget that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Where the cars are catcalling her.
Yeah.
And this race was 812 Superfast versus GT500.
That's right.
And it was they're calling her, and it's her and the cars, and she does this unbelievable walk that you engineered where she turns around and flips her. It was unreal. And then right as she's dropping the flag, dumbass Cousin Bob off the side in a director chair is like, wait, hold up, we can't do this no more. The idea was that it's 19. You can't objectify this young woman. If we're going to objectify somebody, it needs to be somebody terrible like him. And you had a clipboard in your hand.
Yeah, I was looking like I had some kind of job, I guess.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Derek, but it's be nice though that know that you and Lisa are the best part of the episode.
That's true.
GT3 RS.
So then you had ripped off your shirt, which was absolutely hilarious. And as she's walking away, she flips you the bird, which is my favorite part of the whole episode.
That's right. I remember it now.
That
It's
was
all rushing back.
You-
I just scrubbed that episode too for Dark Horse, which we just released.
In the same location.
in the same location.
Derek got to come.
You didn't want the flag boy. You were dead set against it.
Oh, really?
This is so fucking stupid. I never want to see Cousin Bob again. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, tough.
Well, I didn't want to do the flag girl either. I mean, the old woman in the chair, that was funny. That was original.
That was
but I'm
great.
like, hey, looking back, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
And Derek got to see the whole
But the
process.
fact that Lisa
so-
showed up with the same dress was the best part. Like, to me, that
Yeah,
was.
it was.
But yeah, I don't remember what we had as an alternative to start. Oh, we were going to do a traffic light to start the drag race or something like boring. And I'm like, no.
I don't think there was any
Lisa's coming
discussion. You were dead set on that. I'm like, okay, well, we'll make it work somehow.
Yeah, I can't believe you're going to have somebody rip his shirt off. I'm like, it's Derek. It's not somebody's.
It's not a real person.
Because they spend 9 hours a day in the gym. Give him a cookie. so to speak.
But that really kind of laid the foundation for every icons after that.
Right. So Stratos got me hired at EISSIMI, and then GT500 got us all hired at Hagerty, because what happened was I was at Scottsdale, so a couple months later, and I'm hanging out.
Very sick. You were deathly ill
Again.
after that trip. Yes.
After that trip, yeah. Of course, you shake a million hands and all you do is hang out with people in Scottsdale. Disease Central. It's like, Vegas of Arizona. And so I'm at this party at some museum. And
Sorry, Scottsdale.
Yeah, I'm sorry. About that. This episode is brought to you
Not by Scottsdale.
by the Anything Else Tourism. And I'm hanging out with the whole ISSIMI crew, all the management, the owners, and whatever else. And this guy walks right over and is like, okay, I can't tell you who the person is, but his first name is not McKeel and his last name is not Hagerty. And the ISSIMI guys didn't know who he was.
You're kidding.
Holy shit! That fucking GT500 episode. McKeel would never curse. Oh my fucking, why the fuck aren't you working for us? And I was like,
That's the conversation you told me on the phone.
yeah. And so of course I'm like, meet the EISSIMI guys, whatever, blah, blah, blah. McKeel was like, he couldn't stop gushing about that video. Sorry, not McKeel.
Yeah, that's right.
Who definitely didn't use any profanity. McKeel had seen the video and he was really excited. I don't know if he dropped all his F-bombs, but he was screaming like, why aren't you working for us? This is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we'll talk to him.
Well, you should have. I tried to work, right?
He did say that.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, one way or another, shortly thereafter,
has friends in high places
Yeah.
at that organization, apparently.
And so they were like, hey, what do you want to do? And I'm like, listen, I love the EISSIMI guys. We all sort of became friends. You started working there while I was there. But the opportunities were going to be greater because I knew at some point I'd be able to get you guys both on staff, and the three of us would dominate the planet Earth.
As we are known. We're known as the Thursday crew.
I did not want us to be called the Cammisa crew. I didn't think that was fair to you guys.
Oh, very sweet of you.
That was stupid. I've cost myself recognition internally. No, internally we are the
You made up for it by putting your name on everything else. Don't worry.
I didn't. I thought that was my opportunity to drop Jason Cammisa from the Icons, but Larry, who's on this, supposed to be on this list, but this is a list of our visitors who've
It's getting shorter.
have come on this episode. Larry was here and he was like, no, man, your name's got to be on it. I'm like, oh, well, fuck, it's so.
I agree with him.
Yeah, I know. It's branding.
It is
it's
branding.
101.
Fine,
It is.
But yeah. But the funny thing is, we started out with exactly the same shows that we pitched minus this versus that, which then became Cooter, Cammisa's Ultimate Drag Race Replay.
You're skipping Spotlight in between.
Oh, yeah. So EISSIMI, what we did was exactly the same shows again. I don't know if you guys are. Oh, no.
It's no longer the Carmudgeon Show.
Yes, it is. It's coming back. Oh, no. It's going to start playing videos. Oh, there. It's a Samsung. We can watch our content on the Hagerty. Hold on. Does this actually
Matt's
work?
going to be very happy about that plug, by the way.
You know this, right? We can, all our episodes, hold on. How do we get to channel 1134, is it?
47? I don't know what it is.
I've never done this before.
I'm sorry.
Putting me on the spot.
You know this. All of our content is now on Samsung TV Plus, which is included with the purchase of any Samsung TV or something. Why isn't it recommending this? This is very upsetting.
Yeah, you have to go. There's right there.
Oh, there it is. Samsung TV Plus. So anyway, oh no!
That's that.
This show plays. Hold on. How do we do channel up? Oh, thank God. No network connection. Anyway, it was the same shows for EISSIMI that we had pitched to Hagerty, which was, we called it Proper Care and Feeding, which was know-it-all. Mm-hmm. Spotlight, which we called very imaginatively because there was a skylight in the warehouse that the light would come straight down. I'm like, we'll put a car in the spotlight. Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm just kidding.
Shut up, you. And then there was Icons. So it was those 3 shows. Yeah. And we did that until Hagerty came knocking, and I knew that like I said, we'd be able to get
Spotlight was really your brainchild, though, because that was designed to be, COVID.
Yeah, that was the thing is everything was shut down, and I thought, all right, it's a big warehouse. If I can kick everyone else out, it can be me plus ideally you, but you couldn't get on a plane. So
and that was back when we couldn't congregate in like groups of 5 or more.
Yeah, you can. I mean, even 2 people in a thing, I thought, all right, we're going to have ventilation, whatever else. It was fine.
Yeah. Now we know.
Now I have to. There's got to be a way to get back to the Carmudgeon logo.
Yeah, you change your input.
Yeah, but how? There's no input button on this.
I'm sorry. I'm
See,
LG.
Jake?
So then we started Hagerty with the shows, and here we are. And you guys are in the office today because we are about to do 2 Revelations. You've never been here for a Revelation shoot.
No, this is my second time in the building.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Total. I'm Southern California based, so I'm rarely up here.
I mean,
Which is where your filming usually occurs, Southern California.
Just for, honestly, ease of weather, first of all. There are 3 or 4 months a year that you can't really trust the weather in Northern California. And we don't.
Did you guys learn that during the Cybertruck?
That was a little bit
moist.
out. So we are so lucky on that one because it was supposed to be like some like
Biblical.
atmospheric river pineapple express fucking whatever the hell.
Those are both real things.
Those are actual things.
If you watch the weather around here.
Yeah, they really do say that all the time. I don't know what any of it means, but
Well,
waterfalls
Pineapple
from
Express means it comes from the direction of Hawaii. Atmospheric river means never mind. We don't. This is about car and film, not weather.
Source. Here we go. Unknown. We're going to an unknown source here, everyone. There we go.
The Carmudgeon Show.
Now Jake's going to blur all those thumbnails.
There we go. Ta-da. Anyway, Jake's going to have to like blur that out because actually that would be really funny. If
Rob could just superimpose it. We have an editor here. I mean, this is solvable.
No. He's not an editor here. Jake is the editor here. Jake's the one that does all the stupid inserts on Carmudgeon, which always make me laugh. Basically, what you should be doing is randomly putting the Pornhub logo with things undulating in the background just to...
And then pixelate
see
it.
if anyone noticed.
But pixelate it just slightly enough so that you can still tell what's going on.
We did that on...
It was in Tesla.
Was Tesla.
And we got away with it.
We got away with it.
Was it on the screen in the car?
It was literally on the screen, and you did blur it out. But I zoomed in enough that you could just see undulation, but you couldn't see what you were. But you got the boom.
You know that a little too well.
You're married with kids. You should too.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah. You too.
No, back to the name, Revelations. So what I love about it is it's three things in one word, right? It's rev, it's elations, and it's revelations.
I mean, I wish I had thought of that. Actually, no, that's funny.
It's entirely on purpose.
I think actually some of our shows are mislabeled. It was on purpose. I think some of our shows are mistitled. Like really. Icons, Revelations should be called Icons because we're looking back at iconic cars.
Right.
But the Icon's name had already been said. Spotlight was great, and I really wanted to reuse it, but that was not going to happen. So it was my buddy Mark that came up with Revelations, actually. And I'm like, what? That sounds like something out of the Bible. And he's like, you never thought of that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. I was like, so I did all these searches to see if there's like a Revelations book or something. And there is, but there was very few... like Google results for it. So I'm like, maybe. And then Mark just said Revelations Untold Stories of Automotive Legends. And I'm like, okay, I'm in.
And we had an alternate title, I remember too, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, it used to be called Spotlight.
Well, yeah, but you said you couldn't use Spotlight. It was Revelations or it was something else.
Oh, no way.
We were trying to figure out, what it was.
So why could we reuse Icons but not Spotlight?
Yes.
Because it's Jason Cammisa on the Icons. I have a feeling. So it wound up being a good thing. Also, I think I asked ISSIMI.
You did.
Yeah,
nicely, and they said okay.
Icons also imply, it puts you in a little bit of a tough position because if you're doing a car that's not quite iconic yet, then periodically you're like, it's a little bit of a stretch to call this an icon.
That's true.
With Mustang, it works. Yeah. But with I don't know, Genesis.
Sapphire. Yeah. Or it was Lucid Performance at that point.
We've run into that. Although when we were discussing it, we were like, at the end of the day, these are such big lifts. They're so resource intensive that it's unlikely we'll ever be able to do more than a couple a year. Right. Especially on YouTube sized budgets, that we thought, all right, we're not going to be doing a review of here's a new Hyundai Elantra, right? So anything we do by definition is going to be important enough that hopefully becomes an icon. I don't know.
The show is iconic.
Well, I think because it's our flagship show, Icon sounds more epic.
Yeah,
sounds more grounded. It sounds,
I mean, you always do these like cool logo treatments too, that it just looks iconic when you do it. You know, it's always like the camera tilts up to the sky and the Icons logo comes down, and
That's one of my favorite things to do on the show. Are
You know,
the
that's-
logo sequences.
That's actually one of the criticisms. Mark, the one who came up with Icons, is a great ad exec, and marketing genius. And he's like, my problem. He loves them. First of all, he's going to listen to this. So
But they're long and indulgent.
No. He loves that. The problem is it's not a consistent font.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I
shit.
see. Yeah, that
But
is
we love the
branding.
way
That
this
is
looks,
branding
and-
101 that
yeah.
we kind of violate. But because the show is themed so much,
I love it.
We'll get together and we'll talk for
Right,
3
you know,
hours.
We'll say, this is obviously Mad Max Fury Road. So we'll go and
We'll actually do that. We're
or-
like, what does the car embody? And then
Right.
we're like, what movies have we seen
we'll
that we
do-
want to kind of
What's
emulate?
that?
or our game, Cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll just then sort of drill down and for those fonts and then create a theme.
I mean, you
Color-
clearly do
color
that. Look
palette,
Look at
everything.
Bronco Raptor. I looked like I went to Donald Trump's tanning salon. Everything was orange.
Must have
in
been
that
filmed in
episode.
Mexico.
Yeah, so it was very Michael Bay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the inspiration was. It was like, oh, everything's orange. Okay, you too. Whatever.
Yeah, well, every episode is themed in just about every way. Soundtrack.
Well, that's because we're film nerds,
Yeah, it's true.
which frustrates him.
No,
because
it doesn't
We're
frustrate
always
me.
trying to figure out, okay, how do we make? Yes, it's a film. It's a car review. Yes, it has a specific purpose, but he and I are
What's
both
the
secretly
aesthetic?
making a 15-minute movie.
Yeah.
Secret. There's no secret there.
But we are.
No, we absolutely
Attempting.
Yeah.
No.
So
Look, you guys,
we're
look at all
frustrated.
the awards
We're
we
frustrated theatrical filmmakers who are trying to figure out how to itch that scratch somehow.
Listen,
or scratch that itch. I should say.
That's right. What we're doing is taking YouTube budgets and making stuff that is beyond. The goal is, whether we're doing it or not, the goal is to make the best quality stuff on the planet, period. And that's at any cost and any budget. And I love that we were able to go to the UK together, the three of us, because we've never gone on a trip anywhere for the awards for the International Automotive
Film Award.
Film Award. And to win an award and to go up on stage after, Fast and Furious 10 I think they did one something. I mean, the Top Gear guys were next.
We
to
felt
us going,
uncomfortable in that building. Put it that way. There are a lot of pretty.
There are a lot of big hitters
Yeah.
in
Big
the
hitters.
sort of film industry, not my industry. I'm
exactly.
a car journalist. But I love that first of all, everyone was lovely. Like, it was really cool.
We got mobbed.
But
Yeah,
we
we
got
did,
mobbed. And the fact that the Top Gear was like, you bastards, we
Yes.
know you're going to beat us.
That was lovely of them.
That was
by the
so
way.
cool.
They were really gracious in that.
No one more so than God. Oh my God, I'm such an asshole. Blanking on his name.
Rory.
Rory
Reed.
Rory
Reed.
was like walked right over, and I walked right over to him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And we don't really know each other well. And
Shout
he's
out
like,
to Rory. We love your work. by
yeah,
the way.
seriously, he does great shit. And he right off the bat, he's like, I know we're gonna lose to you, but there's no one else I want to lose to. And that was like, whoa, really? Like he more so than I think anyone else took what we did at Motor Trend and continued, but made it better.
Yes,
I think he does
I
a
agree.
Did. He
Completely.
definitely did. Yeah.
And he was so gracious to us.
Yeah, he was great. That was really, really, really cool. But so that's the thing is you guys are trying to make, are trying to make movies, even though I've never seen
Well, it
one.
doesn't matter where your motivation comes from at
Right.
the end of the day, as long as you're finding something to inspire you to
Well,
make it as good as you can.
We've been iterating for so long.
Yeah.
We did how many Ignition and Head-to-Head episodes? We did how many World's Greatest Drag Race episodes? Like, we're like, okay, and we take all the lessons we learned from doing those things, and we have a post-mortem quite a lot, and we're like, what didn't work? And we eliminate
We're
that.
brutally honest. with
How
ourselves.
have you not eliminated me? I'm always the weakest link.
Gosh, please.
My question to you all, maybe you can't answer it, is what would you, it's about the future. What would you add in terms of format or what's next, or like what's the next frontier,
They don't
or
like my
some
answer, though.
question along that?
I want
Documentary.
I want more travelogue and more food coupled with driving and tracks.
No.
No, see, like I said,
No, but look, I understand what you're getting at. So some of the most impactful moments in the recent videos have been the musical interludes that you've done. The sort of the mental break that we have. And the two that come to my mind, obviously, are Bronco Raptor in the desert, where everyone wanted to know the name of that track, which was, by the way, it's a music service that we use, so we can't give, it's not, you can't find it on Spotify. And the other one most recently was that drop into Palm Springs on that, I screamed at my monitor. It was so lush and it was so of the time and I loved that. And so I know you want travel log and stuff like that, but those two things put me into a place and a time, especially the Palm Springs jazz sort of, Sinatra-y vibe.
That's why you guys got to film in lots of different locations, not just
I think
Southern
that's
California.
really what I'm getting at more than anything is that, we're
sick of seeing Willow Springs.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have much of a choice, but, I would love to see Italy. I would love to see Germany. I would love to see...
I'd like a different backdrop.
Yeah,
too.
different aesthetic.
Yeah.
It always has a sort of dry Southern California aesthetic. It'd be interesting to see it in a different place. What about you guys? You have answers to that same question that you can publicly share?
For me, it's quantity. Right? I love what we do. I wish we had a bigger team. I think it sounds like a complaint, but it's not. Every Icons is about 2 months solid work for the two of us, and then about probably 5 weeks for you.
About that. Yeah.
Right? And so last year we had planned on doing 4.
We planned on it. We did 3 in a lap battle.
We had a show get canceled literally the day of, but
cars that didn't end up in the right places in the right time with
stuff. But we had, the previous year we did, what was our record? 5 or 6 in an Icons.
I think it was 5.
And in the year that we did 5, we did 40 something.
Oh my God, we produced a lot of content.
Plus we did, was it a total of 20? I don't remember, 37 pieces of content.
We were dead.
Oh yeah,
we didn't want to do that again.
That was the year that I was sick in bed with 5 fevers in 1 year. It was unbelievable. Every single minute that we weren't working, you were sick, or I was sick, or all 3. But that was like 4 Icons, 14 or 5 Icons, 14 revelations.
It was 22 pieces of content total.
No, it was more than that.
Or 26.
26
well,
or 27.
I don't think of Carmudgeon because...
Oh, no. It wasn't even, that's 48 on top of that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, it was that year almost killed. I genuinely think that was what was the year that I dropped and I thought I was genuinely going to die in the middle of bull market.
I remember
that was the same year.
Our post-mortem on that, I remember that phone call. We all said, okay, what are we doing wrong?
We're never doing this again. Is all I kept saying. It was never, ever, ever. Right. So that's the thing is, you can't cram, we did, but you really can't cram 2.5 years worth of work into 1 year and think you're going to get away with it. Like the repercussions for that for all of us health wise.
That said, we did that to ourselves. The show kept expanding. No one was asking us to do that.
That's true.
All of the things that we can complain about have nothing to do, right? They're all self-inflicted.
Yeah, completely.
Nothing to do with anyone else. Although the next year after that, I cut the amount of deliverables in half. And, everyone at Hagerty, my boss was like, what? And I'm like, sorry. And I'm like, this is your choice. You have dead Jason and you get nothing, or you get half as much. And he's like, how the hell do I explain this? And I'm like, you have nothing or you have half. And that's it. There is no other explanation. And that was really tough. Kudos to my boss for not firing me. But I'm like, we are never, ever doing this again. In fact, even half was too much.
It was unsustainable.
Even what we did last year.
It was just to get us off the ground,
Right.
Yeah, no. I'm glad we did it. We did a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I feel like our to have a bigger team. If we could maybe overlap a little bit more. But.
The problem there is to try to schedule the output at a regular basis. There's a pre-production. There are basically 3 phases of everything we do. There's pre-production, production, and post-production. And so pre-production involves all the planning, getting the cars lined up, getting locations, shooting locations, permits, getting all that stuff locked down, getting the crew locked down. Because remember, it's not just us on set. There's we have a crew that we're always trying to hire, and finding the
lodging
schedule
and servicing the van.
Well, my Vangina usually needs a lube job beforehand, but to get everyone's schedule Venn diagrams to overlap with the availability of the cars, and this is where we're really stupid, is we could Icons could be 1 car. Period.
It could, yeah. That's my point. No one's forcing us to have a 12 car.
But if I am writing a car review of something, I can mention all of the other cars that it competes against, or something else that's relevant to the story. And because the whole thing is this fantasy land that I'm creating with just words on the page, I can talk about them however I want and bring them into the story. And it doesn't matter that they're not physically there for the photo shoot. And if I need to bring them in, you do what's called a sidebar. And you have a sidebar in the article with all of the other bit players and whatever else. It occurred to us a long time ago that a sidebar doesn't work in video. If I'm talking about, like if I'm doing a review of a new Mercedes SL and I'm talking about what a technological wonder the R129 is, well, how does the audience, like I'm not going to sit there while driving an R231 talking about an R129. It's stupid. Well, shit, I guess I got to go get a 129. And so half of our Icons episodes are 12 cars or 8 or 10 or 12.
Yeah, but we sort of still cleverly construct a sidebar into our episodes in that, like, if you look at Lucid, we talk about the technology of Tesla and what they contributed, and it felt segmented. And, I think that when we talk about how many Mustangs Ford sold, that's a kind of a bit of a sidebar.
Those are sidebars,
right?
But we have to have the car. No, you'll know
that's
that
what I think sidebar in my brain when I go, okay, this is the sidebar.
No, you're totally right about. Yeah. We do a lot of sidebars because I think it's really illustrative, and I think it's really important for people to understand perspective. Right, that's what we're always trying to give. But I couldn't give the speech about how many first generation Mustangs they sold
without being in a first
generation Mustang.
Yeah.
Shit. So now we had a 66 Mustang convertible, and then Mustang 2 is the redheaded bastard stepchild.
Try to find one that looks nice.
Right. Well, we did.
Right.
And then is it available in the location in Palm Springs on the day that we're filming? And is the owner not a twat? And blah 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 blah. Okay, yes, all that works.
Mustang 2 looked really cool.
That car looked great.
It looks great. I was like looking at it, going,
when it
why did I hate on this thing?
Oh my god, it's
really
ugly
as sin.
Yeah,
no, it's ugly as sin, but it looked great. That house, by the way, that was
it looked fantastic.
This is all part of the pre-production process that I don't think is obvious on the end. It shouldn't be, but like we had to rent the house. We needed a driveway that, by the way, that was facing the correct direction for the sunrise because it had to be done in the morning. And so it's got to be facing a certain way. It's got to be on a corner. It's got to have this. It's got to have this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We found this lovely real estate agent. He and his wife were like, yep, totally. You give us whatever you want and use it. That was word of mouth through car guy friends of mine who live in Palm Springs.
It's one of the least stressful days of the shoot. And it ended up being one of the nicest sequences in the film.
I loved that. But then we had a third generation Mustang. That was Craig Lepresti, who I've never met, but I've just texted back and forth with. This guy was like, try to break it, which is the segue to the probe.
Yeah, which you broke the wrong time.
Very, very broke. But that owner was awesome. He drove it down from LA, that Nick.
He's great.
From the Bay Area all the way down, only to hear about it because I was on the other side of the runway. Hey, I think I
and not get mad.
Laughed when I snapped the axle. He's like, it's probably just an axle.
He was so happy to be there. I love his attitude,
That was awesome. Then we had the Boss 302 that we had to line up. What else? We had another car.
With the M4.
Oh, we had M3. And the E30 M3.
E30 M3, yeah.
Is that it?
The Fox.
The Volkswagen Fox, which we had to pay and we transported that all over God's creation.
Meanwhile, we were shooting a drag race episode at that same week, so we had another 6 cars, was it?
Yeah, you had the Lotus Emira.
The Emira, the Challenger.
M2. The
Camaro.
Emira. Yeah, you already said
all these great cars were there. And what car did these guys make me drive?
The Fox.
The shitty one.
The Fox?
Yeah.
No, Randy lost his shit on the Fox.
That was a highlight of mine, to drive the Fox.
Cool. When was the last time you saw a Volkswagen Volkswagen?
That first and only time I've seen one.
Do you know what that fucking took to find that thing?
You know what it took to start
That's right. Liv had to go out to lunch with the owner.
She had to go take I found the car. The owner was like sketched like, who the fuck are you? Brazilian woman, super lovely, it turns out, but was like,
immensely
what do you want?
sketched out.
Totally sketched out, totally skeptical. The whole thing.
Someone would be so enthusiastic about that.
About her shitbox, which was listed on
She's
Facebook
like, I'm selling it. I'm like, I don't want to buy it. I'll buy it if I have to, but I don't want to. And then I'm like, I don't want to get stuck with this. I got stuck with a fucking Hyundai, that XL that I bought for this. Look, hardly something to complain about, but I did have to buy a fucking Hyundai XL, right? So I wasn't going to wind up in the same situation. So I called Liv, who's a producer. She's in LA, and I'm like, hey, can you do me a huge favor and just show up
with this sketchy stranger from Facebook,
buy her lunch? And she's like, sure, but why? And I'm like, because you want her Volkswagen Fox. It's a red wagon. And Liv has a red Jetta Silver. I never remember cars. She's got a Golf wagon. I'm like, show up in your Golf wagon and be like, look, we both love Volkswagen wagons. See, we're cool people. Worked. It was great. But the amount of bullshit that goes on and goes wrong, getting, how many cars is that total? We should have written this down.
12, 15.
12, 15, somewhere there. Plus Vangina.
Oh, and the Supra and the M4, the orange M4.
Well, right. So it was M2, M4. Yeah, whatever. We're not going through the list again. But I think there are probably 16 cars total because you have Vangina, it's camera van. Didn't I drive something down? No, I flew down. Then we had a
Navigator or something like
Pacifica, a Navigator, and another rental car on top of it. Yeah. I mean, these things, and then multiple locations. So obviously we had multiple locations permitting in Palm Springs, plus Chuckwalla Raceway, plus the runway at Chuckwalla, plus we got.
But it allows us to create such a different looking show to anything else that exists. You know, we segment that we create chapters out of these cars, and we build and release the energy in a way that we would never be able to do if it was a single car review. You know, we'd be stuck with you in the car for 4 minutes, you know, while you talk about the car. And
is that so bad?
I think it is. My point is, you look at audience retention, which is how long the viewer stays engaged, and it is essential to, you know, throw in a sleight of hand every once in a while, completely change up the energy, the music.
Quincy Jones once said in music, the ear needs the music to keep hearing something new. It needs to keep changing within the song. Right. And that applies to what we do.
And I think our biggest sort of, if I could point to one thing and go, yeah, that's how we evolve the most versus Ignition or Head to Head, it's in the way we come into and out of scenes.
Yeah, yes.
Like even in Mustang, right? We're listening to Jason talk about the Mustang Dark Horse and drive the Mustang Dark Horse. And then all of a sudden it flies by. And of course the audience thinks that Jason's still driving the Dark Horse, now disappearing, you know, into the horizon. And we pull back and he's in the new Mustang. And that takes us into a completely new the first generation Mustang. Yep. And that's a completely new idea, new chapter, new the whole everything. And I think because of that, a 30-minute show now feels like a 10-minute show, a 15-minute show.
If we're doing it right, it feels
if we're doing it right.
But so much work and effort and energy is put into those moments, you know.
And I think our retention rates show it.
It does. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, we're making the show for the wrong medium, right? It really shouldn't be.
So do you guys want to talk any bit about like what happens when you have a narrative, you're in the middle of shooting it, and the location suddenly says you can't do X, Y, or Z?
Oh, I blocked it out.
We have been kicked out. You have been screamed
We almost got kicked out.
Well,
can we talk about that?
Yeah, whatever. So We've been asked to leave Willow. We've been asked to leave Chuckwalla. Recently, we're asked to leave Chuckwalla because we weren't allowed to do. Somehow, there's always no one's ever evil. Although at the moment we think people are evil. We were not allowed to lay in any tire or get anything sideways at Chuckwalla. We didn't know this. So we get there and we were
mortified.
Quite upset to learn that no burning tires, no sliding, no skidding.
In a Mustang episode.
It's not like we're
not reviewing a Rolls Royce.
Right.
500 horsepower rear wheel drive.
Little do we know that they were trying to make the track surface stretch out for another couple of years till they did a full resurface.
Exactly.
But they could have let us know this before we finalized the location.
Just communication fuck up. And that wound up like an emergency. How the hell, especially on a Mustang with an e-brake that's there as a drift brake. I mean, we really had to scramble to make that
So
work.
all of us in the crew were sitting over by the production office, and they had just wrapped a sequence, and we were getting shut down. And we were all huddled, and we watched Jason and Anthony walk all the way to the far end of the track.
Like a quarter mile
thinking we have 17 or whatever, however many cars here. We have the entire crew here. We have all of our equipment here. We were bunking there.
Yeah,
we were thinking, on site how are we going to get all this out of here and move to another location in like hours? And we were on like just biting our nails.
Everyone looked like they were going to throw up.
And then we saw you guys walking back, and we thought, well, they don't look too bummed out. They're not screaming at each other, blaming each other for it.
Look, at the end of the day, it
worked out. So we were like, oh, thank God.
The rep from Chuckwalla was berserk. He was so pissed off. And what had happened was, we found out when we got there that we weren't allowed to lay tire. And we were like, oh, fuck. fuck. But then we were told we were allowed to lay tire in one spot.
Yeah. And the one area where you can't really lay tire.
But hold on, we miscounted the corners.
Because it was turn 7.
So we, whatever the hell,
13,
we were in the,
something,
yeah,
okay.
we destroyed the pavement in the wrong corner. And he was like, beat red faced. We were like, whoa, hold on. You told us we could do this. And he was like, that's turn 14. And we're like, oh shit. And
So I want everyone listening to try to imagine doing your job. Well, there are guys on ATVs with binoculars, just watching you from afar, driving around, kind of.
But there's always something. There's always something.
There's one security guy when I'm going to who he is at one track that always gets like, I think he just hates you. Like he just gets right in Anthony's face at 6:30 in the morning every time we're filming, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, oh hey buddy, how you doing? Totally nice to me. And we do a really good job of good cop, bad cop. Like we're just
do we switch or which one of us? Okay, we do.
I'm usually bad cop. He's usually good cop. Like it's just personality wise, I'm a dick. He thinks. And he'll get his revenge later. He's like a procrastinator.
I think that makes people more aggravated sometimes. Like the cop who stopped us in downtown LA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was just so mad he couldn't get to me. He just got louder and louder and louder.
We did the same thing. So we have the same.
Arrested.
I think. Look, we grew up 25 minutes away from each other.
Right.
Like I think we have the same sort of coping mechanisms with stress. And if somebody's berserk and you get berserk, I get nice. And if somebody's berserk and I get berserk, he gets nice. So we switch. And then in the time that downtown LA, we were getting arrested. This cop was apoplectic. We were doing nothing wrong. We had permits. Everything was signed. We double checked the whole thing. And this cop was just fucking having no part of it. And he was like, just screaming at me. And I'm like, you need to calm down. Like, you just need to calm down. And he was like, I don't need to do anything. And I'm like, and I don't need to get arrested here. So what are you going to do? Like, you asked us for proof. We gave you proof. We checked out. It's a clerical mistake. Clearly, there's a disconnect. The more calm I got, the more berserk I got. And you did exactly the same thing, apparently.
Yeah.
We didn't know because we were separated. We were in two different cars. I was in the show car. You were in the camera car. And this cop was like having no part of us. But what was he going to do? And the best of the whole thing was the more angry the cop got, the more calm he got. And he was like, I'm sorry you're so upset, but like, I'm sorry. And then we have a permit and you pulled out the permit right as the cop called his boss and you put the two names together and realized the guy that signed off on our permit was the guy's boss who he was calling to find out how to impound our cars and take us to jail. And Ant was like, can I talk to him for a second?
Exactly. I'm like, can I see the phone?
And he's like, hey, Joe, how you doing? You signed our permit.
But it's always something. And if it's not that, it's weather. And we're on race cars with Cup 2R tires.
So we're shooting lap battle. We're on day 3 or day 4 of the shoot. And you guys are out on Big Willow shooting car to car or in car. I don't remember which. And a mom with 3 kids in a van drove around the barrier and drove right on the track and decided to give her kids a tour of Big Willow while they're shooting. He's in a production van. And I don't know if you guys know how it works, but they're often doing convergence. So he's driving this way.
150 miles an hour.
And the van's going the other way. And they're looking at each other to make sure they don't hit each other. Not thinking a mom and a van.
She could have killed everyone.
Right.
She could have killed all of us.
So that's just a little example of some of the things that
everything goes wrong. Like we should do a compilation list of the funniest things that have gone wrong.
Do you have bloopers? Are you saving them somewhere?
I hope you do.
Well, I have everything we've ever shot. I have terabytes.
I know, but we really should do. There
are production things that have gone wrong, and then there are mistakes that have been made.
Right, but the story
that are almost sometimes funnier.
The situation with the cops or
what do you think?
Which one? Where do we start?
Just give. I mean, I'm sure this is interesting to other people. How many things I fucked up.
Yeah, we could start small.
Shit.
This one was one of my favorites though, because we're always under such time pressure, right? Like every single day counts, both when we're shooting and when we're editing. So when we're done shooting, it's imperative we get the footage to Rob as quickly as possible because he's editing in LA. And we'll be wherever finishing our shoot, and we send the footage express as quickly as we can to Rob. And so we'd finished the shoot, and a couple days went by, and we're like, Rob, did you get the footage? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, we gotta move. I mean, we're running out of time here to edit this episode. I'm like, Jason, you sent it to him, right? And he goes, yes, I absolutely did.
Then the doorbell goes off. The package arrived at Jason's house.
Someone rings his doorbell. Jason sent the hard drive to himself. And that's when we knew it's like, okay, we're working too hard. Like this, he's lost his mind. It was so good. Either that or he was really testing. I need your signature.
Now, do you know what shit we would have got from Jason if we had said that?
That's the point. The thing is, he expects so much of himself. He holds himself to such a high standard. And as a result, everyone else around him. So that when you do make, and this is why we're here, and we appreciate that about you. But when you make a mistake, it's so glaringly hilarious, so obvious.
At least I'm the type of person that admits it.
You did.
Hold on.
You laughed.
I was
hysterical.
harder than
or were you like, I was just testing the FedEx Express. I want to know if I got my money's worth.
The annoying thing is it was still 2-day fucking delivery to come back to the same house. Asshole.
If you had paid even more, it would have beat you back to your own house.
That's got to be the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Oh, you want more?
Yeah.
How many more do you want? How much time?
Crashing the fucking Mustang.
Or the minivan.
I have a funnier story.
Oh,
than that.
stop. How dare you? All right, now we're going to talk. All right, so the Mustang was...
You've told them...
The Mustang was showing GT350.
You really had to get that Windex bottle as quickly as possible.
So we're doing 2 episodes at once. It's Motor Trend. GT350 and GT350R versus Camaro Z28. Right? So, or no, hold on. GT350R ignition, base 350, whatever. We have to do a tire rack minute. So Randy's off in the back.
It ended up being a lot longer than a minute.
Yeah, talking to the tire rack guy on camera, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we needed to go get Windex to clean the car. So we haul ass back over to base. And we're in this orange GT350. And we're just talking, or this is like my 3rd episode or 4th episode for...
It was early on.
And it was early on, and Randy didn't trust me, which was a problem. And we fucked up because we set Randy up for comedy things by fucking with him, not realizing Randy's really funny. And I think you had probably worked with him before, but in a different capacity than...
No, I'd worked with him for years.
But did you know that like he was so funny on camera?
We always try and poke him in ways that'll...
The thing about Randy is you poke him, he comes back with comedy. You don't have to give it to him, right? So, but my stupid idea was, it was his Range Rover Sport. This is a previous episode. Set the lap record around the Nürburgring, and it tied the Alpha 4C around the Nürburgring. So we got a 4C in a Range Rover Sport, and the Range Rover Sport and we were going to set a lap time at Big Willow, and the Range Rover Sport was delivered on these fucking tires that were made out of hopes, dreams, and no grip whatsoever. And so there was no way. So we had to abandon that plan and said, what are we going to do? All right, well, fuck it. It's an SUV. I'm going to cut across the track. So Randy was told, past Jason somewhere around turn 2, and I blocked him. I wouldn't let him pass. I'm all over the place, and he's on video, and some of it made it to the episode. He's like, yeah, there's nothing worse than an unpredictable driver.
Yeah.
Like he was pissed.
He thought you were a full-blown lunatic.
Yeah. But little did he know I was planning on blocking him. The idea was I was going to block him, obviously, as long as I could, and just when he was going to fly by me, I would fling the fucking thing off track at 100 miles an hour, which I did. On the next lap, he got in front of me. I think he was he was in front of me, so we didn't break the windshield on the 4C. And I just, at the end of the straight, braking zone, boom, janked right into the dirt and went straight up the hill. He was berserk. He was so mad. And to this day, he's like, he's a Southern gentleman. He's like, no, that wasn't really a great move. I'm sure he wanted to be dead. So the next shoot, he's like, Jason can't...
So you're already off to a bad start.
I'm off to a bad start. Jason can't be trusted. Jason's crazy. Jason drifted a Bentley GT3R around a thing. He's nuts, whatever. And so he's doing the tire rack minute. We go to get the Windex. And on the way back, I turn into one of the turns at Chuckwalla. Turn, I guess it's 2. And the thing steps out. And I don't ever think twice about sideways. It's like, you don't know this about me, right? I'm just like, whatever. It's fucking weird. Rear tires must be completely fucked. And we're still talking. And when fucking next corner comes up and I turn in, we're not race speed here. We're just moving quickly to get... I got this thing so sideways. And I'm like, God damn it. And you stop talking. And when you stop talking, something's wrong. So he stops talking. I'm like, what the fuck? And we're full lock. with the ass out to the left. And as we go the other way, steering locks, and we go spin backwards off and hit a tire wall. Of course, windows down on the dirt. There's fucking dirt everywhere. My concern is, are you okay? You're totally fine. It was barely an impact. It was like nothing because it was tires. But then we had to.
We spent that night at the hotel buffing.
We
God.
drove to AutoZone and bought the most powerful buffer we can buy and like 4 bottles of rubbing compound and buffed. I got in the trunk and kicked out the dent from the inside, and then we just buffed the shit out of it.
Because we still had to finish the episode.
Yeah, we had to finish the episode.
Shooting from the other side
that
of
was
the car.
Well, except on the dyno, you can see the damage. So that was number one. I munched the front of a rental minivan on a corner of a wall at like 1 billionth of a mile an hour and punctured the AC condenser on a shoot when it was 105 degrees outside. And of course, because I'm a nice guy, I drove that the 1 hour to the next shoot, where you were in an air-conditioned car with your 105 degree fever because you had COVID, if you remember correctly.
Right. I do remember another very, very low-speed frontal impact of yours.
Oh, God. No. All right, go for it.
Which one? Are you thinking of the same one?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
M2?
Karmic Retribution.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we could talk about that. So this is actually after our first icons ever. First
How
icons
much
for
memory
Hagerty.
do we have on these?
Are we out of time already?
Oh yes, we're out of time.
Yeah, we're well over an hour now.
So this was for our super icons, our first icons for Hagerty. So it was a bit of a stressful thing. There's a lot of pressure around it. We had just finished a very long day of shooting, and I mean, Jason will be happy to tell you, but I turn off my brain when we're done with shooting. So I was happy to follow. Oh, you don't remember this?
I'm thinking of a different.
Oh, okay. Well, then just hang on.
All right.
So I turn off my brain at the end of shooting because it's a long, there's not 1 second where I'm not at 10 tenths from the second the sun rises.
You're redlighting
to
at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
till 7 p.m.
Yeah,
5
occasionally
a.m.
Jason gets a break here and there, so everyone else gets a break. But by the time the day's over, I'm done. So I'm happy to hand the keys over to the production back to Jason, and so he's guiding us to the hotel, and he's in the M2 CS, and he pulls into the hotel parking lot, and you just hear, and I'm like, uh-oh, that's not a good sound. And he got out. He sees the front splitter. He goes, shit. So that puts him in a bad mood. He's already really tired on top of that. Mm-hmm. We follow you into the hotel.
You're out of order.
With that after? I'm giving you an excuse for being mean. How about that?
No, you might as well tell the real story. So, okay, so we pull up to the hotel. Everything is fine. Everyone's good.
Then why were you so frustrated?
Because we walked in the fucking hotel. So when we get to the hotel, it's got one of those vestibule things or whatever they're called, and the covered thing, and we all pull in, and we get one of the luggage carts, and we have like 1,000 pounds worth of gear, like case after case after case after case.
Right.
And so we pull up in 3 different cars.
Right.
And we get this. Everything was fine, and we start unloading all the things, and this lady comes out, and she's like, "Excuse me." One car under the thing.
She wouldn't let us park there.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she wouldn't let us park there. One car at a time. And I'm like, why? Like, we got a job to do. Fuck off. Like, we're unloading 3 vans worth of shit. And she was like, oh, for COVID. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you guys need to social distance. And I'm like, our cars. Like, we need to social distance our cars. And she was like, I'm sorry, these are the rules. And I'm like, well, the rules are fucking stupid. We're just going to do what we're going to do. So it was a complete
So we have what 3 SUVs full of gear that we had to unload. We grabbed all the hotel carts.
We ignore her. Right?
So Jason's like, forget this. Go get the carts. Unload everything.
Fuck her. Fuck everything.
I mean, you really chewed her head off, which was quite amusing to watch. We're like, okay, he's got a point. He's got a point.
Well, the cars are going to get COVID. I said to her first. Let me. In my defense, I'm like, the cars need to social distance. Cars don't get COVID. And she was like, no, you guys. I'm like, we all came from the same place. We're all going to the same place. We are one unit. We've been coughing on each other for days.
Right.
All good. She's like, I'm sorry, but these are the rules. And I'm like, the rules are fucking stupid. And she's like, whatever. And I'm like, then you unload the truck. You know what? I'm sorry, guys. Just ignore her. We'll just do it. Right.
Right.
So she gets mad and huffs inside. And I'm like, fuck her. Whatever. We'll be fine.
Yeah. It's important to understand how much gear we have for each one of these productions. So when
you guys have no idea.
Yeah. When we unload
of those thingies, like the luggage
hotel carts.
hotel carts. 3 of them.
It takes
packed
2
to
hours
6
to
feet.
wrap.
So we basically took over the lobby of this hotel with all of our gear. It took us God knows how long to unpack everything. And before that, you're like, okay, well, I really have to use the bathroom. So you guys unload, check in, get everything ready. And so he goes off to find the bathroom, and we're unloading and unloading and unloading. And, by the time we're done, everyone's just beat. And
But I peed.
Huh?
But I peed, so I felt fine.
Pete, that's what you're doing yourself. Okay. And so, while they're unloading, I'm talking to this woman at the desk trying to check us in, and she's like, "I really can't find the reservation."
This is the same woman?
This is the same woman. He just chewed,
Annihilated.
completely ripped her head off. And so we're trying to check in. She's like, I'm so sorry, I cannot find you guys anywhere." So Jason comes back from the bathroom at this point, and he goes, "You guys aren't checked in yet?" I'm like, "No, she can't find the reservation." So
I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with her?
Yeah, so it turns out we unloaded at the wrong hotel that he brought us to. After all of that, after half an hour. And so imagine taking over the whole hotel. Our gear is splayed out everywhere. He just destroyed their bathroom. And it turns out we're in the wrong hotel. And everyone was and we're like, really?
And I let everyone there. So now she's like, "You got the wrong hotel," and I'm like, "I have the reservation right."
And then he just walked out.
No. I'm like, "So I owe you an apology." And she was like, and I'm like, "No, really." You guys, we all burst out laughing. And as soon as everyone was out, I walked back into her and I'm like, "I'm sorry." And she was like, "This is funnier than, like, it's totally fine." She was totally awesome about it. But I have this thing with instant karma, and I should know better. Anytime, Anthony knows this because he's seen it happen so many times. Anytime I'm a total asshole, I get it back immediately. And the bigger of an asshole I am, the more gaping of an asshole, the faster and worse it comes back. So I apologize to her. She and I have a great laugh about it. I tell her to have a great night. We go out. I put the car put the clutch in, press the start button, and it rolls forward and goes right there and just cracks the splitter. Like,
I had flipped it because I thought had to be a reason you were just livid going into the conversation.
Fine, except like her rules were dumb. We have 1,000 pounds worth of shit to unload. Fuck off.
I love how insulting that was.
So what did you do? Did you rebook a new room?
No, we were across the street.
Yeah. But you had to move the gear?
Everything. We had to repack.
It was
I would have totally said, "Well, do you have 3 rooms or 4 rooms, whatever you need?"
Yeah.
And she would have been like, "Yeah, $1,000 a night."
Yeah, exactly. After that,
and this is why we take Rob along.
This is our new COVID.
This is our new COVID. Oh God, that one was funny.
That was really good.
All right, any other fuck ups while we're embarrassing me here?
Well, you can take a turn. I mean, go ahead.
I'm trying to think of anything you fucked up. You know I'm bad at like random access shit. Rob is like the most brilliant editor in the world.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna make fun of you.
Okay. You don't know what you're me.
If there's a word involved or a letter,
it starts with a B.
No, you fuck it up.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You could spell your own fucking name wrong. It's unbelievable.
True.
So it is. We laugh. I'm sorry.
Us left brain artists, we're not good with.
Exactly. You have your talents. You don't need to spell.
Right.
But holy shit, dude.
He kind of does need to spell though.
I know that's the problem.
No, we have to do it. But like every leaderboard, there's at least 16 typos. Like you'll spell the name of the car wrong. You'll make up model years. We fucking laugh. It's mean. But it's not mean intentioned. We laugh our asses off. We're like, and
I have excuses for every one of them, but that's okay.
Rob wrote a special thanks you to somebody this time.
He's dyslexic. Leave him alone.
Exactly. That's right.
But yeah, you don't fuck up well, here's the other thing. The only other thing you'll fuck up is Anthony is like autism levels of car sound. This was what I should have
and just
planned.
in general. But
yeah, well, I think
I'm in good company.
You're looking at the spectrum here.
Why is he looking at me?
I did that. You can play an engine note randomly off of YouTube, some clip of a car, and Anthony will identify it. And it won't be just like, that's a V8. He'll say, that is an S85. Hold on, what's the V10? Yeah, that's an S85. But it's not a 5 Series because the exhaust is too short. It's a 6 Series. Boom. Like that level of, that's definitely an M6, period, right? Not an M5, which is the same engine. So he's that good. Rob will occasionally put the wrong sound for the wrong car.
Not occasionally,
and
all the time. Yeah.
Every episode, at least 20 times. And we laugh. The question is, it's by accident. We know. There's so many files and so much other shit. Right. But it's always like, does he really think he's going to get away with this? That is a Hemi, and we're looking at a Camaro. Does he not know that he goes? Does he not know the difference between a Hemi? No, not asshole. Really, no one can tell the fucking difference except you. Now there are times.
I mean, you're right up there too, though.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
How could he mix up the 2316 with the E30 M3?
That's true. I did on that last episode.
You were livid about that one. Like it wasn't intentional.
No, so what happens is that I don't have a good production sound that we got on location, and I sometimes have to dig for someone from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'll grab something off YouTube and just grab the sound, the audio. I shouldn't admit this out loud. And now I won't know that I'm actually looking at the Gen 2 of the X or the Y, and he knows. And I'm like, it looks the same to me, and it sounds like a car. So I throw it in there, and then these guys go apoplectic. What the fuck? Are you stupid?
This was the one. Okay, this is what happened on the Mustang Dark Horse episode. We had an E30 M3, and I heard it. I'm like, that's not an E30 M3. Sorry. So I write notes. So what happens is the way the post process works is Rob will upload and edit to this app that we use that lets us see it, and we can make comments that are time coded. So I make my comment, hey, that's wrong audio. There are like 8 cuts typically that we'll do between the first and final. Yeah. Right? 8.
Yeah, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean we'll see a million chunks of full like
end-to-end cuts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. By the third fucking time that I've made this comment, I'm pissed. And I'm not actually mad at you. I'm just pissed. I don't want to fucking have to repeat myself. Mostly because I'm an idiot and I'll forget to do it and then it'll wind up in the final edit. But if I've identified something, I need to have it dealt with because I'm a ditz and I'll forget. So I'm like, wrong audio. Boom. Next cut comes out. I hear, I'm like, wrong audio again. Third time, I'm like, God damn it, Rob. And God forbid anyone like from Hagerty ever looks through our comments. God damn it, Rob. That's not a fucking S14. It sounds totally different. Fourth time, for fuck's sake, Rob, see previous third, whatever. Now I'm just a bitch in the comment. And you come right back and you're like, that is a 1987 BMW M3. And I'm like, oh, that bitch is challenging me. So I found the clip on the internet. Right. I found it. I fucking found it. And sure as shit, the car had headers.
Oh, that was what it was.
And I was like, that fucking thing is not.
Well, it was labeled correctly. It looked the same.
But I could tell it was. And I'm like, just go through our footage of our M3 episode. Of course, we had sound problems that day. So you were, but it was just, it's one of these like things that you never, no one would ever think. Who would ever think that you would have to go look for footage?
Well, just so people know, it's a bit of an ordeal to go to an old episode and pull it out of archive. Yeah. It's actually easier to go find something that's similar sounding. YouTube, and just use the audio bit.
I don't think the audience really realizes how many layers of art there is in what you do, right? You're not ever seeing what you think you're seeing. You're not ever hearing what's happening.
Right? So you guys keep it accurate. You guys keep it technically accurate.
We fuck up occasionally.
No. But that's the point. Right?
There was one, I think there was an Icons like maybe in the last year where you're like, fuck, that made it through. And it was the wrong car. And as soon as you point it out, I'm like, oh shit. But but the thing is, when we think about this way, 16 cars on a shoot, we have 16 audio files and you're building energy and building sounds that aren't there. And, even the drag race that seems so completely simple. There are so many different points of view that all have different audio. So when you're in a drone, you have a drone shot. That drone is not capturing audio. I mean, it is. It's capturing.
Well, there is metadata sometimes in the file, and sometimes every once in a while it's wrong. Yeah. And I don't. The sound guy is trying to keep up with you guys, and so he's got to key in the new name of the sound file within like 3 seconds before. Hey, let's roll. And every once in a while, it'll be M3, but it's actually the next car.
Yeah.
And I won't know.
Right. Yeah. He can hear it, and it's unbelievable. Right. That's you're well, the thing super talented.
We've done 300 episodes. Yeah. I mean, over the course of 12 years. So I think I have so much hands-on experience with all of these cars that you know what is similar? Like if you're watching an animated movie, and you're like, oh yeah, I can't see Robin Williams acting in front of me, but that's definitely Robin Williams. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same thing with cars. It's like, oh, that's obviously an F12, or it's like some cars are just so distinctive.
I mean, could you sort of randomly just tell the difference between an F12 and a 599?
No.
They changed the header design.
Okay, hold on.
You don't have to do this right now.
I mean, I kind of want to.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it is, all right. So I'm going to give you a car.
No, come on.
Yeah, come on. You know the audience is they're going to love this. We're just going to do it really quick. But, okay. I want you to tell me. I'm just going to pick a video. POV. Do we want exterior, right? Let's see here's a tunnel.
Oh, it's a
10-cylinder.
It's a V10.
It's a 10-cylinder.
That is a 5.0 Gallardo, right?
See?
It's
Wow.
not the 5.2 because
It's a 5.0.
They changed the firing order.
yeah, they changed the firing
Gallardo.
order. Yeah.
This is
Don't
what I-
do that. Come on.
This is what I deal with, folks.
But hold on.
This is what a normal human being deals with on a daily basis. I want you to know this.
But let me tell you, often when we leave, so this is your first time on Revelations. Anthony stays at my house when you guys are both staying at my house. This would be extra fun. You get to see the full fat production. But we leave this studio at like 9 o'clock at night, cross-eyed. And he's, it's East Coast, so he's like jet lagged. It's midnight for him. And we go back to my house and we'll watch videos like this for like 2 hours and quiz him. And it's unfucking believable. Oh, well, that's really weird because that sounds like a flat plane V8, but it's really just a 4-cylinder. Is that a car with 2 4-cylinders that are geared identical? Yes. How the fuck did you? I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's things like that. Like he just immediately knew that was a 5-liter Gallardo, not a 5.2, right? And I specifically searched Gallardo 5.0 acceleration for that clip. And they do sound very different. But okay, you immediately, V10, and then you start going down these. It's
You
often,
narrow it down.
Yeah, but you narrow it down also because of the shifts. Like every car maker has an automatic that shifts differently. BMWs do the ba, and Ferraris sound very different than Lamborghinis do, and it's unbelievable.
But that's why we really drill into sound design as much as we do on icons. And Rob, I know he wants to strangle me by the end of it because
we all do.
quite literally probably 1,000 sound notes throughout the course of our 8 different iterations or 8 different versions of the episode, like dialing from a very rough cut all the way to our final export. And there has to be 1,000 sound notes. I mean, because there's 16 layers of sound.
Which is in a 25-minute episode.
25-minute episode.
It's just wall-to-wall exhaust noise.
Not all. It's a lot of times.
No, I don't mean that.
Sound
I don't mean
effects
that
and
in a
rides,
negative
right?
way. I just mean that we're literally constantly in whether we're in a car or hearing a car. It's a flyby. It's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like drone, if you think about it, drones don't capture audio. So when you guys are watching a Cooter video and you hear, that's not what you're seeing. That was recorded at a totally different time. So it's so easy to have the wrong car in there.
Yeah.
And then you're in car, and that's one set of audio. And then you're on a camera mounted on the front of it, on the back of it, or the car next to it. And all of that has to be crafted.
Yeah, what a lot of guys don't. Well, a lot of the people who watch our shows probably won't realize is that while we're shooting what we call the beauties, which is the beauty shots of the car, and it's not done with any sound. Jason will take the sound guy off in the cars individually and just do runs back and forth. So we get interior sounds, we get exhaust sound, we get intake sound. He'll do that times every car. And by the time they're done doing all of that, creating that library,
I mean,
we're ready to move on to the next.
It's very similar to a process that you'd see Forza Motorsport take or Gran Turismo, like where you need every perspective and every RPM range, and
the only thing I wish we could do is if we, that we could, do what is it when you
Dyno.
Dynos?
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
That would be next step. Back to your original question.
Although it would make
your
life miserable because there are times when you're using a sound file from a race where the car was by itself, right? So you have 3 loud cars, and we have an interior shot. And we need to hear the engine of the car that we're inside of, but not hear the other ones, right? So then you have to switch to an audio file that was captured with me plus our Ben, our sound guy, on its own, and you see the tack shift. That has to line up 100% exactly with. The sound has to line up with the visuals, and those are from 2 different takes on 2 different days, or 3 different days, or whatever else. It's
hard to do.
And then you think, 1,000
and also,
sound notes.
I don't think people realize. You realize in your head you can hear a car row through all its gears, all of them. But there's never really a straight long enough.
No, we don't have one.
Where we can get all the way through 4th up to 5th, so we can hear it just balls out the whole time. And often we need that. whether we're building a montage or we're trying to do something.
Also,
specific.
I'll typically do a lap or two around the track for a GoPro audio, like a point of view, different mounted exterior shots, and we'll have audio set up, and I'll go do different audio treatments for you. So I'll do a corner in fourth gear and pull slowly out of fourth, or then, downshift 3 times for no reason. And there's all kinds of weird shit that I'm doing just to give you what you need audio-wise.
Options.
And then, then
times
of course,
17 cars.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Per
but it all builds into the energy of that particular part of the episode. And that's how we can build and release and build and release.
Right.
And the car sounds are such a huge part of that.
Right.
Which makes EVs really tough to film. Really tough to make exciting.
Yeah, I've been waiting for someone to build an actual EV sound library that we could buy or get our hands on, and no one's done it yet.
I see a whole. You're going to hear rocks
getting
spit up.
Well, yeah, it's just that it's. I think the problem with EVs is we think we know what they sound like in our head, but they don't really sound like that. They sound like road noise.
Yeah, tires.
They sound like tires.
Although Tesla
we think we hear that
did
whine.
Tesla
sound
Roadster sounded like something.
That's the only EV I've ever heard that actually sounded like something.
All right, what are your last 5 cars each, or 5 cars that you guys have owned, just so the audience knows what kind of car owners you are or not?
Who do you're looking at me?
You and you.
Okay.
Well, that's it. You guys are car guys, so part of the whole reason you're here is to establish your credibility, so people stop thinking you're.
No credibility, and I have to mention my current car. Oh,
you don't have to mention anything.
You can edit.
You can. That's a rental car.
Last 3 cars. Okay.
Or 5,
it's
or 10.
10.
Just to get what.
So I've gone through, I purchased my first car at 17. I was working 3 different jobs so I could buy one. And my taste then, my life then is very different from my life now. So it's interesting to sort of look back at my cars, not just as a reflection of who I was at the time and what I needed, but, my changing tastes and everything else.
Have I mentioned that he's an introspective, observatory person? Where I'm like, that's fucking hot. I want it. He's like, it's a reflection of my personality and the time of my life.
We talk about it being
a costume.
an avatar, constantly.
I'm giving you shit.
It's true, though.
So I know he agrees with me. Yeah. I started out with Mazda RX-8. That was my first car that I was really into. I thought the handling balance was amazing. It turns out I'm into unreliable cars. So I started out with a rotary, which was not the most reliable.
And it was an early one that flooded.
It was early.
Right?
It was a 2005. It flooded constantly.
Not water wise. Like
yes.
He had to pull the bottom plug out and on the side of the road in New Jersey in snow.
Yeah. So I'll go through them real quickly. So RX-8, then I ended up in a S60R Volvo because a lot of them had to do with the sound. So that was a 5-cylinder, and I love the way that sounded. Then I got into a B6 S4.
Good sound.
V8, good sound, not the best handling experience.
We're riding,
so that didn't last long. But I was living in Boston at the time through Boston winters, and lived at the top of Beacon Hill. So cobblestones plus snow. I thought I needed Quattro, and it really plowed through. It got me to the top.
Homeless people. Sorry.
Oh my god! It got me to the top. It got me to my apartment reliably. But I really didn't love the terminal understeer. And I ended up in one moment where I was just watching the wall come closer and closer, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I saved it, or the tires regained grip because I couldn't do anything about it. And I'm like,
take the fucking credit for it. You saved it.
Okay. And I'm like, forget this thing. I'm going to have a V10 M5 now as the practical way to charge through Boston winters and
eliminate understeer.
Yeah, more importantly, eliminate understeer. But getting up the hill meant,
great noises,
bouncing off of all the buildings and, people
expensive buildings.
Yeah, people poking their heads out the window, and I'm like, okay, well, this is totally worth it. So I had that. Then I went from there into an E92 M3 competition, which is, I think, what I had when I met you. And you made fun of me. I mean, in retrospect,
fucking DCT.
I did. I got the DCT.
I mean, you lived in LA, so there is.
No, that's not an excuse. I didn't know what was coming. None of us knew that manuals would end up on the endangered species list. And I'm like, okay, well, the DCT is shorter ratios. It put the V8 in. It only had 295 foot-pounds of torque, so I like the shorter gear. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So E92 M3, NC2 Miata.
Never sold that one,
which I should not have sold. I really love that.
That was a great
car. E30 325i.
he
I
bought
bought
an
on the
E30
spot after.
in the middle of filming the E30 Icons episode. We were in Connecticut. No,
Yeah.
we were in
Connecticut.
Vermont.
Oh yeah, and we went to Connecticut.
We
to pick
drove
it
to
up.
Connecticut and I hit the ATM on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Here you go. And you shipped it.
Yeah, because my bank account, Bank
your
of
bank
America
would-
wouldn't allow me to pull out what I needed on a Sunday.
was
And-
awesome.
and he
That was
loaned it
hilarious.
In the picture, you still have of loaning me money. For
Oh
that.
God, now we're gonna pull that insert out. But yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so E30, 325. Oh God, a lot of stuff.
325,
RX-8 R3, which was the press car, one of the last rotaries Mazda made.
That one was reliable. Right?
That one was, but I like been there, done that. I kind of like moving around and experiencing other things. So I had that. Then I had a 2013 V8 Vantage manual, the 4.7, which was beautiful garage art and
that
was great to
license
drive.
plate. That license plate
A V
made
Quiet.
us. Yeah, I came up with that because I was staying with you guys in when you were in California, and your parking spot was on the back of your building, and I was out in the front on the street in my cabriolet. I'll never forget this. And you put that exhaust on it, and so you put a Fab Suite exhaust and an X pipe on it, right? And
It was a Larini.
a Larini exhaust
yeah.
and I'm like in the bitch basket waiting for you to come around the block, and this thing is idling, and I have an exhaust on it. It's built motor and whatever, and I just hear rum, and birds fly out, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And that was a block away, and we were trying to think of funny plates, and I said, why don't you get V Quiet?
And we've used it
And that
several
plate,
times.
we
yeah.
use. Anytime there's a loud car, we throw that plate on there. That was my
Wasn't
favorite.
it on the Escalade?
It was. V
Which
Quiet.
V? Quiet,
V
Escalade
Quiet.
V. That was a double.
But that one had a bit of a sad ending to it. As
Really, what did you do to it?
nothing that it wasn't designed to do.
Bullshit.
It jumped a little bit. I was on a completely closed road, and
We often are. We often are.
Randy Post over here.
yeah, it was a closed road, and someone had broken into the set in a Dodge Challenger. It was a Hellcat Red Eye wide body.
Oh, shit.
And all I saw, he pulled right up on my bumper, and all I saw was just his teeth. And I'm like, okay, hang on. And
this.
anyway,
Hold my beer.
yeah, a couple corners later, there was a decreasing radius and a big dip, and I hit it at the top of second gear, and all four wheels left the ground.
Oof.
And right as I was at 7,500 RPM, so it was red line.
Oh.
And when I landed, and it wasn't a huge jump, but it was enough to get all four wheels off the ground. And I landed, and the second I landed, it was like, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? So it spun a rod bearing.
The story did not end the way you thought it was going to end, did it?
No.
Everyone was going to think it was going to hit a tree.
Oh, no,
No, I
it
thought it was
landed
a
perfectly.
Meanwhile, your other half is pregnant.
Yes, that's
at
right.
the time. Now he's got a fucking Vantage
A
with a
blown-
with a spun rod bearing.
That's right.
Calls me. What is this noise? Bang 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 bang. bang,
I know exactly what it was. I limped it home.
home.
I'm like, this is anyway, the thing is, we ended up in Monterey with Aston.
Yeah,
and
I got you a free motor.
and Jason.
Let me say that.
And I almost
that's
bought
kind of
that
wrong.
car.
You almost bought that?
I almost bought it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't, because this motherfucker jumped that.
No, it would have been the one with the new engine.
I was chatting with.
Oil starvation issue, and it has a dry sump. I mean, that should never.
Listen, the car had what, 16,000 miles on it?
It was baby.
Yeah, it was a baby. I was talking to the guys from
16.
Aston. 16. And I said, listen, my business partner just spun a rod bearing in his V8 Vantage. I'm responsible for him buying this car, because the video that I did where I basically fellated the V12 Vantage S manual made him fall in love with this car so much that he had to buy V8. And can you guys help? Because this is fucked up, 16,000 miles. And they're like, well, what codes were in there? Was an over rev. No over rev, no codes, no nothing. It was 100%. I think it was probably a combination of the negative G forces plus, possibly
Free
a
spinning.
small over rev because he was already at the limit. Whatever.
The computer
But
might not have been
actually,
able to pull it down fast enough. It was
but it would have had an overread.
Well, the minute those tires
yeah,
touched the
yeah,
ground.
which it didn't. Yeah,
Yeah. So they looked through the computer and they're like, okay, And so they comped you a motor, you paid labor, right?
Yeah.
So it was still an expensive.
It was, but it soured the experience for me big time. But if I'm going to buy something, I want to be able to drive it.
Did you beat the hell count though?
Huh? Oh, he gave me the biggest thumbs up.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah. He drove by like, holy shit, that was
That's great.
Okay, so that ended the Vantage Plus. Then
It did, but I wasn't done with 4.7 liter V8 engines, as it turns out.
QP.
That led to the GTI.
The GTI was in between. Yeah. And that was, if I have to point to one car and say I kept it for longer than any other car, the GTI Sport.
You still have it.
I still have it.
It's how many, 7 years now?
It's 7 years. Yeah, I can't believe it. I really, I'm like him. I'm like, okay, I experienced it. Like, I get it.
And he told me just a couple of days ago, he goes, I'm never getting rid of it.
There's no reason to.
Why would you?
You can't replace it with, now it's probably $20,000. What could you get for $20,000 that gives you that complete a package?
Yeah.
You just can't. So I still have that Mark 7 GTI Sport manual. But then as my sort of fun car, I had a Quattroporte Sport GTS with the 4.7.
You're going to have to send me the clip again so Jay can put the insert on what this fucking thing sounded like.
And it's important to understand. They're going to go, oh, well, Anthony got the Vantage after Jason convinced him the V12 was the best car on planet Earth. And
should have bought a V12 because you would have blown that. But Quattroporte episode.
It should be noted, I convinced you to do a Revelations on the QP after I bought it.
Okay, you might have nudged me over the line, but that was my dream.
Yeah, I know. I knew you loved that. I didn't know exactly how you felt about it. Yeah. But after, and really for me, it was, I heard a long time ago, I heard an 8C leave a car show. Mm-hmm. And I was just a teenager at that point, and because the 8C was new, and it was the best sounding cross-plane V8 I've ever experienced. I'm like, oh.
What? You agree?
It's definitely up there. I have very memorable experiences driving those cars. I mean, it's all about the powertrain and the fact that you're looking at carbon fiber everywhere you look.
And the sound's bouncing around the cabin with you because everything carbon reflects off it. Yeah. But after that, I'm like, okay, obviously.
Back when Crackle was cool. Nobody was doing it back then except for them.
Mm.
Yeah. So either way, I wasn't about to.
The Aston had Crackle too. Slightly
a little
different.
bit too much.
Crackle and pop.
And at this point, I have now 2 sons that I very much want to involve in, the fun. And obviously the Aston wasn't going to do that. So I was like, okay, how do I get the 8C sound with room enough for 2 child seats? And that's what exactly
very practical Maserati Quattroporte.
Yeah, so I looked for 4 years to find this Sport GTS because it had a host of upgrades over the base model and the S. I'm like, I need the sound. And the kids completely love it. I mean, even in the middle of winter, my son would ask me to roll down the sunroof. And we're like, it's 20 degrees outside, and we roll down the sunroof and just, go through tunnels with it. And it's, they get such a laugh out of it.
That's awesome.
Kid's fucked. He'll have no license by the time he's 16 and a half.
Expensive.
But
it was, and I recently sold it. I also got an R129 SL500 40th anniversary that I had for
one of the most beautiful cars,
which is
I've
just
ever
the
seen.
prettiest color of all, at least for me, one of the prettiest colors ever. And recently picked up an ND2 Miata Club with the Brembo GTS Recaro package, which honestly, after we're done, I'm just constantly trying to insert the ND2 in every episode of ours. Like we were talking, like, oh, let's do a 500E episode, and Jason's like, yeah, well, let's get an RS2, let's get this. Well, did you know an ND2 Miata runs the quarter in exactly the same time as the 500E? And
that was his doing.
Every time, like, oh, we're doing a Nissan Z episode. Well, let's talk about the origin of the sports car. And so I'm constantly trying to insert ND2, and so there was a point where I'm like, all right, I just have to buy one. Like this is every time I get done with a shoot, like we could have a GT3 or a Z06 or whatever on set that I could, experience. And I'm like, I want to get into ND2. Yep. So that's a big one for me that I really love. And And I also had my NC2 at the same time as the Aston. And it was really interesting hopping back and forth between the two. And some days, like, I really couldn't figure out which one I enjoyed more. Like, they're vastly different experiences, and I love them for different reasons.
But the ownership experience overall of the Miata was pleasurable.
was far superior in my opinion. And now I just recently got rid of the Quattroporte, which
Bad move.
Very upset about.
He sold. Have you ever done this? Sold a car because you decided to sell a car and then regretted it before anyone even bought it.
It happened so quick. I put it online. It was gone within 24 hours for way more than any other QP had sold before.
But
so
by the time the fucking wire transfer arrived, you called me like, I fucked up.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah,
I regret selling my 240Z, but I needed the money to buy a house.
I think you were trying to be like a good husband and a good dad, and don't fucking do that.
Okay, well,
hopefully Kim doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, no, I'm sure she will. But we have
Kim, I love you, but seriously, he should have kept the.
I know, it's true. But that said, I'm able to now hand over the keys, and that ownership experience was amazing from start to finish. Contrary to what the internet will tell you, that was a really reliable car.
You got
and I don't
lucky.
even have to knock on wood; it's not mine anymore. But no, start to finish, it didn't. I mean, it was easy to maintain. You know, I did all the maintenance. It was as simple. It's simple as could be. Right. You know, and nothing went wrong other than the window regulator, which I also fixed. You know, and that was it. So you know,
what I'm hearing from across the country right now is. It just explodes.
The simple fact is I had the Miata in the garage next to the Quattroporte, and neither of them were doing, you know, too much. They weren't really hauling the kids around all that much. I can't fit anything in the Miata. I can't fit anything in the trunk of the Quattroporte. It's actually really small, despite the car being 201 inches long, longer than a Range Rover, but it can't fit anything. Yeah. And so that just wasn't hugely it also got 11 miles a gallon, was expensive to insure.
It didn't need to get 11 miles per gallon.
I couldn't do much better than that.
Exactly.
It didn't need to make all that lovely noise.
That's
right, right.
And so I recently, actually just on Saturday, I flew down to Florida and picked up a V90 R design.
That's rare. It's
So
very rare.
yeah, they maybe a handful of them will come up in over the course of a year, and
Nice looking car.
It's a pretty color
Without the body cladding thing.
Yeah, because it's not an XC.
Yeah, and it's so Volvo never stocked the standard.
Yeah, special
V90.
order only.
Yeah, so you got to go to the dealer and really want it, and they'll try and guide you over to the cross
XC.
country, and they're like, no, I don't want a lifted wagon. I want a wagon. If I wanted something lifted, I'd buy an SUV. So I found a one owner, and it was in Florida. So I flew down on Saturday and purchased it. It is yet to arrive. So I'm excited about that. But it's a pretty big departure. My friend was saying that I'm probably the only person who's gone from a Maserati Quattroporte to a Volvo.
Well, the funny thing is, a month and a half ago, you had a Quattroporte in your garage. You had a Quattroporte, a 129, and a GTI outside. And now you have a V90 and hold on,
A V90, a GTI, and
GTI. And the GTI stayed, but your garage swapped
Completely.
right? I mean, completely went from QP to V90 and 129 to Miata.
Sometimes you just got to change it up, you know, changing priorities.
I want your lifestyle, Anthony.
Yeah. You what?
Yeah, I want your lifestyle.
Me too. Hey, I just bought dinner. Sorry. Okay. All right. What about you, Mr.
Oh, God,
I
I'll go
don't
through it
have
really
any
fast
cars.
because it's boring, and by this hour, no one's listening.
How long is this?
2 hours.
Holy shit.
Is it really?
A new record.
Oh my God.
I started with a 1969 Beetle.
Nice.
California style, lowered, MP rims, 1776cc custom motor.
Damn.
Love that thing.
Another Volkswagen, man.
It burned up in my dad's garage because I pulled the engine to change the clutch, and the battery was too close. And it doesn't matter. It almost burnt the house down.
Okay. Oops.
That led to a 1985 Nissan pickup that was also Cali style, slammed, custom rims, custom interior.
Okay.
Won a couple car shows with that one. That led to a Fox body, where I went. My wife, who had a Fox body, and we would race each other up Foothill Boulevard.
So this episode was special. This last Dark Horse.
It
was
really,
special.
yeah, for Barb too. And that's how we met.
That's cool.
And then
She was a hot cheerleader in the driver's seat. not the passenger seat.
Was she a cheerleader?
No,
Okay, I was gonna say
That was your line.
I know, but I was like, I can't.
no, my wife's too cool to be a cheerleader.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's far too cool for that.
Exactly.
Far too cool for that.
What was after? Then
Nothing against.
then I got rid of it. And I didn't have that very long, and then I had an E30 320 something.
Your 325E.
Yeah,
right.
it was,
that you hated.
and I didn't have that very long either, which led to the VR6 Jetta,
Mark IV.
and then and I love that car.
You had a VR6. I didn't know.
And only just recently got rid of it. It had like 180,000 miles on it. It was a really good car. It was like I felt like I was driving a little Mercedes.
You were. You were driving something better than a little Mercedes.
And that led to my Audi phase, which was a S4, then an A6, which I hated.
You had a B7 S4, right?
Yes,
Okay, so we
Yeah.
had that's the one car
Manual,
we share then.
V8. And
Manual?
Then,
Wow.
I loved it, but it was God. My
What
God,
does that mean? Wow, I'm
I loved it.
surprised.
I loved it, but my kidneys hated it because that
Yeah, they
ride
rode like
was
shit.
rough.
That-
Holy
I didn't
cow.
realize that you guys both. I mean, I know you had an S4. I didn't realize you guys had exactly the same car.
I had a B6. He had a
was
B7.
B6.
Facelift.
Yeah, it's just it's effectively different bumpers. You know?
Then when I no longer needed to fit a car seat in a back seat, I asked my wife if it was okay to get a coupe, and I got the S5.
That you had when we met you.
Yeah,
And
then
tormented you endlessly.
and I drove that into the ground, and then we won't talk about my current car.
We won't. Do you want to guess?
It was on an episode of ours.
It
Our worst
was.
performing.
Our
drag
worst
race of
performing
all time.
drag race episode, yeah, the Tesla Model Y Performance. That's mine.
In your defense, it's a great transportation device. It's kind of
Actually,
perfect.
You know,
for what you need it for.
despite the headache getting it, and despite it going through two computers because it was built during COVID.
Oh,
It was built during the supply chain.
for
and
the record, your Tesla was far less reliable than my Quattroporte. Just throwing it out there. It broke down 10 times as much as mine.
Well, so look at
okay.
Tesla was very proud, very proud that they had swapped chipsets and just rewrote the firmware overnight. And I thought, well, from having worked in the computer industry when I was in college, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it turned out to be. So it's on its third computer currently.
But every time I don't hear from you for a while, I'm like, what's Rob up to? Like, Jesus, is he in
walking
danger?
home from the Tesla
Yeah, he's like,
shop.
I just got back from the Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla troubles.
So it's a love-hate thing with Tesla, I think.
get it.
You know, yeah.
Okay. We're 2 hours in. Are you dead now?
I have to pee.
So does the audience, but
So do you have to do an intro?
no, we can do another hour. Let's fuck with Eric. No, I think we're done.
Okay, thank you for joining us of this episode of the Carmudgeon Show.
That's the outro. I was going to say thank you guys for joining us. This is really interesting. If you guys have comments in the about what Anthony and Rob do, you should probably put them in the comments below. And I'm just going to drag this out as long as I possibly can. Here, one cup.
To pee in, yes, please. Thank you.
Join us next week. You can do your thing now. Join us next week. We'll be back with no other guests. This has been the
That we know
Carmudgeon
of.
Show.
All right. Thank you.
Strangers. We're just going to get strangers in. Okay. Bye.
Great.